We're going to call to order the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, March 22nd. City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGirt.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Clody.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. My voice is going out. We had a few extra friends in town this past week. I don't know if y'all noticed. They're almost imperceptible if you didn't go to Flagler. But I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of folks this past week, and I think I talked myself out of it. So I'm not sick. I just literally am hoarse. So Vice Mayor may take over a few parts of this meeting, and I apologize in advance for my voice. But with that, we're going to lead off with the invocation and pledge. If you care to join in standing for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge after, Police Department Chaplain Laura Berg will lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. O divine presence, we come together this evening grateful for many, many blessings, for our freedom, for the gift of another day, for the opportunities we're given to make a difference in our community and in our world. We ask your blessings upon our mayor, our city commissioners, and city officials, that they may use their best skills, their resources, and judgment with regard to matters placed before them tonight. Bless all who are placed in positions of leadership and service in our community, in our schools, in our workplaces, medical facilities, law enforcement and emergency units, places of worship and recreation, and throughout our neighborhoods. Bless all who tend to the well-being of all of our citizens and those who visit our community. Help us as citizens to work together for the common good of all and for the freedoms we enjoy. Guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of unity and charity. In the name of divine love, with many names we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Colin, any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, sir. I have one change, and that is item 8C, ordinance number 0822. Conduct a second reading and a quasi-public hearing of an ordinance which, if adopted, would approve the city zoning. No, I'm sorry.
There will be a request for continuance from staff on item 8B, ordinance number 0122, regarding parking waiver exemptions in the Arts Overlay District. I will need to read that title when the item comes up.
Okay, so 8B is going to be requested to be extended. Okay, so nothing on 8C, Colin, right? Okay, and if the commission's okay with it, we have a presentation on Washington Street, but we have a couple proclamations first, and if no one objects, I'm just going to move those proclamations up, and we'll just do those first, and then we'll start with that presentation. And I'm actually, if you don't mind, Vice Mayor, going to ask if you would mind doing those proclamations. A lot of reading and save my voice.
Mayor, I have no problem, because if I don't do that, I'm probably running the meeting.
And then you have to do the rest of the meeting, that's right.
Hello, everybody. Is anybody here from the Board of Realtors? Just you, Scott? Come on. Come on up. Everyone can come on up. Scott, do you get stuck with this every time?
Yes, I do.
Please, just come on up. Okay, proclamation proclaiming the month of April as Fair Housing Month. Whereas Fair Housing Act, enacted April 11, 1968, enshrined in the federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and discrimination regarding housing in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, family status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the city of New Smyrna Beach is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunities are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now, therefore, Russ Owen, Mayor of the City of New Smyrna Beach, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Fair Housing Month. Okay, a lot of words, a lot of words. So we'll tell you what, why don't you get in there, why don't you get in there? You need to be over here. No, we're good. Thank you. Okay, next up is the Rotary Proclamation. Is anybody here? Yes, please come up. Okay, this is a long one. You guys got me on this one. Okay, proclamation proclaiming March 25th, 2022 as New Smyrna Beach Rotary Club Day. Whereas Rotary International was founded in Chicago, USA on February 23rd, 1905 and is a global network of volunteers who share a passion of enhancing communities and improving lives around the world. And whereas the Rotary Club of New Smyrna Beach, founded in 1929, is a member of Rotary International, that is the world's first and one of the largest nonprofit humanitarian service organizations committed to peace, clean water, education, eradication of polio, diversity, fighting hunger, basic education, and literacy. And whereas New Smyrna Beach Rotary members are among the business professionals, academic, and community leaders whose motto of service above self motivates members to contribute their time and talent to raise funds and volunteer for projects locally and internationally. And whereas Rotarians in the Rotary Club of New Smyrna Beach have supported long programs and projects that include Marine Discovery Center, Adopt a Park, Operation Community Immunity, Gifts of Love, Intact Club of New Smyrna Beach High School, Ashley's Ride at the First Step Shelter, Music Note Park at the New Smyrna Beach Sports Complex, Project Backpack at Boys and Girls Club, funding for Shop with a Cop, and providing dictionaries to local third graders and awarding high school scholarships for the past 48 years. And whereas New Smyrna Beach Rotarians have contributed over $200,000 to the Rotary Foundation to support the eradication of polio, funding to build parks, provide vehicles, and needed necessary program items to both local and international service projects. And now, therefore, Mayor Russ Owen of the City of New Smyrna Beach do hereby proclaim March 25th, 2022 as New Smyrna Beach Rotary Club Day. You see how I kept having to move this back and forward? Again, thank you, Rotary Club, for all that you do. Fantastic job.
All right. Thank you to those organizations. We appreciate it. Thanks, Vice Mayor. Next up, we're going to hear a presentation on the Washington Streetscape Design. Kyle, I think, is going to lead that off with the consultant.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight's presentation is going to lay the groundwork for the design and utility coordination with the Utilities Commission with regard to the Washington roadway improvement project. Upon receiving input from the residents as well as the businesses at our February 15th public meeting, the consensus was to keep the lane width adequate, preferably 11.5 feet of pavement for boaters, trucks, long wheel-based vehicles, and to keep the efficiency of the roadway at its posted maximum speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Furthermore, elements needed to be included for pedestrian and cyclist improvements, which includes widening the sidewalks and sharrows, which are simply pavement striping on the roadway for bicyclists. Other improvements such as lighting upgrades and landscape and hardscape features were needed. So those have all been implemented into this conceptual design. One of the most significant traffic management revisions associated with this project involves the intersection of Washington Street and Orange Street. Now, at this intersection, if you're northbound, say you're coming from Julia, you're northbound, and you are at the intersection of Washington Street, you will be able to continue a through in the left and right turn maneuver. But the section of Orange Street from Washington Street to Orange Avenue intersection is proposed to be a one-way northbound only. Okay, this is a safety feature. We've all seen those vehicles that are heading south inch into the intersection due to the queuing and backup of vehicles because of the US 1 signal. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as we go through the presentation. And with that, I'd like to introduce Sharon Hauber, and she will go through the design and layout this evening. Sharon?
Thank you, Kyle. And good evening, gentlemen. Honored to be here to talk about design. Whenever you're a part of a project team and you get to make improvements, it's a great opportunity and it's a good time. A lot of times what we start with is a long list of goals, a long list of, wouldn't it be nice if we could have this, and wouldn't it be nice if we could have that, and that list goes on and on and on, and I'm totally aware of that. When you get the first restriction of a 40-foot right-of-way, and we're not acquiring any additional land, that's kind of the reality check to some of those goals and some of that long list. So Kyle already went through some of the revised design features. As you see, this is called Design Study 4. We've looked at a lot of different things in the last almost year, different ways to improve the pedestrian corridor, make it a more attractive road, take the power lines down, use some of the light fixtures that are here at City Hall property to give character to Washington Street. So those are the design goals. We also, of course, as Kyle mentioned, when I first heard about the intersection of Orange Street and Washington Street, we were very concerned about that and proposed a median there to stop traffic. I understand completely why that was not well received. So the one way that we're talking about would only be one way from Washington Street to Mary Avenue. So that's where that stretch of road would be a one-way road. And that helps to deter those, or hopefully prevent some of those dangerous situations. Critical design details, I've mentioned some of them. The overhead lighting, I drove this way eastbound on Washington Street on the way here and was reminded of those overhead lines and how great it'll be when those are gone. Adding wayfinding signage and information signage, that adds to the site furnishing character of Washington Street. And then, of course, improving utility locations and the drainage. The drainage will be improved greatly because there will no longer be grates in the road, and they'll be integral with the curb and gutter, which will be a much cleaner system. So the first illustration kind of illustrates what we talked about. The 40-foot right-of-way is indicated at the bottom of the image, and you see the 11.5-foot drive lanes and the modified F-type curb, which is a 1.5-foot gutter, curb and gutter, as opposed to a 2-foot curb and gutter. There's a slight jog in that interpretation on the drawing for some reason, but there is basically we're achieving the 7-foot wide walkways by doing a road diet, because that's the coined phrase. But if you drive down the road now, those lanes are about 15, 16 feet, depending on where you are. So we're taking that space in the 11.5 feet by narrowing that drive lane, and we're giving it to the walkway. To create the look of a tropical landscape, and also to provide some consistency down Washington Street. When you drive down Washington Street, you got a lot of power poles on the south side, And kind of, there are some beautiful oak trees and palm trees that exist there today, but they're just outside the right-of-way. So what can we give to the right-of-way to create a character for Washington Street? So we don't have room for oak trees because their canopy is too large for this right-of-way. So Sylvester palms, the upright character and the narrower spread to them give that look kind of like the palm trees that are on Canal Street, but a shorter version of that with the weeping fronds and that character that I think the identity for Washington Street will be, those will be every 50 feet down the road. And I think you'll see them from a distance and there'll be a positive introduction. This cross-section illustrates the light pole on the right. Those would be diagonally spaced across the road. The photometrics would be adequate for at least a half a foot candle. So it'd be a safer lit road. And those would, I kind of like the idea. I think the City Hall property and the park is beautiful here and pulling some of that character down Washington Street. So we kind of introduces the kind of a character and identity for the area. Underneath the palm trees, the concept would be to have like native flowers or drought-tolerant flowers. So there'd be a little splash of color at each opening. At one time I had tree grates. I took those out because they were too space consuming. So on Design Study 4, those are no longer part of the plan just because of the amount of space that they took up. This cross-section illustrates the walkways at 7 feet, the total 7 feet, where the previous cross-section shows the condition where there's a tree. And that's every 50 feet. Again, that's not continual. So in most of the cross-section, there'll be 7 feet on either side of the road. Again, this is because of the road diet. Making the road narrower allows us to pull that walkway in towards the center of the road and gain space. Another alternative is originally I had hoped to have enough room to put palm trees in the center of the road, but that didn't happen. But the concept here is that there has been some comment about the road being people driving too fast down the road. So how can we deter some of that straight shot traffic that might go too fast? The idea here is that these rather narrow medians, but wide enough to have a planter, a concrete planter, and street lights, double-headed street lights, would be at intersections. So when you are driving down the road, you'll know where the intersection is at a distance because of the character of the lights. They're going to be the same type of fixture, just a double-headed fixture that you typically see at an intersection. So the road, again, is the same 40-foot right-of-way, but what we're doing to achieve that median in the center is making the walkways 5 feet in these areas, and there'd be no palm trees at the intersections because of that. Quick sketch that was done originally at Orange Street when I had a median illustrating stopping the traffic, and that now is illustrated as an open intersection with the medians, brick crosswalks. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Those would be repeated at the intersections to bring some of that, again, character of City Hall, the pavers that have been used here, and bring that down the road. The note on the right says Orange Street one-way north, and it should say until Mary Avenue, and that's the end of that one-way. Another sketch at Faulkner shows the same treatment. So you see those overhead lights that are kind of dangling across the intersection and the power poles and the condition when I took that photograph about a year ago or so. And then that same intersection with the brick pavers and the medians. Nice thing about the median is that it's a place to stop when you're crossing the road. We did talk about having those pedestrian activated flashing lights. So you would come up to the intersection and you could hit that button and the lights would flash. But in addition to that, if you're crossing the street and you want to stop at the median, it gives you the opportunity to have a place to stop before you proceed on. And this is a typical kind of intersection. This sketch is done at Faulkner Street, but it shows the condition where the medians would help to slow the traffic. It's not a big jog. It's not like you're going to drive down the road and have to really turn. It's just enough to make you think about it as you're approaching an intersection. It's not that wide of a median, so you wouldn't have to turn that much. But in addition to that, there'd be the code-required striping and reflectors that would tell you a median was coming, so you wouldn't just happen upon it. In addition to that, there'd be 4 light poles in this typical illustration, 2 at each of the medians, and the crosswalks themselves would help to slow traffic. So that is the last slide in my presentation. I welcome any questions.
We'll just come down the line if that's okay with you all. Commissioner Colodi, any comments or questions?
Nice job.
Thank you.
I think it'll really be a tremendous improvement. No poles in the middle of the sidewalks, so we don't have to have people in wheelchairs going down the street. As to the features, they're very nice. I liked it. It's just a good plan.
One of the things I forgot to mention, but thank you, and what you just said, the compliment just reminded me, is one of the things I'm really passionate about in streetscape is having materials that can be replaced. So this is a timeless design, meaning like if a section of concrete walkway has to be replaced, it's not some custom paver that's a certain color that you can't find, or some other material. So all the materials that are proposed are sort of timeless, easy to replace if there was a need to for some reason, and I think that's important. You're not doing a creative texture that nobody can repeat, or tinted concrete that nobody can match, that kind of thing.
I like the idea that eventually when we do improve along Canal Street, this will set a good example as to what we can do to make a good uniform appearance through that whole business district. Thank you.
I should have clarified before Commissioner Colodi, so I'm just going to jump in here. So Kyle, tonight we're not obviously approving, the entire project from, end to end, but you're looking for harmonious, this is the direction we're headed if the commission overall agrees. Does that help sum up what you're looking for tonight from the commission?
Obviously, we're going to have to work out details, access points for businesses and, residents, so forth. But what we're looking for now is just a general overview. Do we like this cross-section? Do we like this type of trees? Do we want the 11.5-foot pavement with this type of curb? And then we can get into, as we progress, we're going to have further meetings with the public, and we'll bring back the design to the commission's attention.
Okay.
So we just need to start somewhere.
Right.
So we can get design moving forward and get into the
So
construction.
we're saying of all the we haven't necessarily figured out every single curb cut, because you and I talked about one that I've had some folks bring up to me. So we're not finalizing every single curb cut, but we are basically saying this is the direction we want to head. Out of all the iterations that we've had of this plan so far, this is the direction we're sending staff
Correct.
off to go with.
Absolutely. There's some
Okay.
flexibility with this, and we have to cater to each circumstance out there. So we haven't done that. We're going to, go out and walk this, as we do the design. So there's a lot of coordination that has to happen before we get in design.
All right, just wanted clarity for the commission. That's kind of what we're accomplishing tonight. So Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for your presentation. It looks really nice, and I especially appreciate the native landscaping that's well thought out. I am slightly concerned about this Sylvester palm. I'm not too familiar with it. It is sustainable without too many problems in Florida?
Yeah, it's one of the most, if you look at the palms that have the kind of weeping frond character, this is one of the most hardy and durable. So it's got a mild salt tolerance, it's good in this zone, it's drought tolerant. It's a tough, scruffy version of a dactylifera palm. So it's a good source. I've used them on so many projects I can't count, and they always do well.
Good. The lighting will be LED?
LED, yes.
LED.
Yes.
The crosswalks, they'll be elevated cobble type.
Not elevated, but they'll be, what I'd like to propose, and this is a detail, but I've done streetscapes with clay pavers. They're actually more durable than concrete pavers, and there's concrete pavers here at City Hall. But clay pavers, they don't fade, and they're also, they're tougher in the road. So that they'll be bordered on either side by concrete ribbon curb that hold them in place.
And I especially appreciate the signalized crosswalks, if we can do that.
Yeah, I think those are great. They're a nice safety feature. They're awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner, Vice Mayor.
A couple of quick questions. So we're going to have our statements, 13 feet, roughly 13 feet, 2 inches for each lane, including the 1 foot 6 inches of the curbing on each side. 11 feet 6 inches, and then the 1 point, it's about 13 too, right? That's including the curbing.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be selfish. I want to keep that in the walkway. So let's say 13.
Okay,
And if we have to make the asphalt just a little bit narrower,
okay.
we'll do that.
How much does the road tighten at the intersection where you're gonna put in the little median? What's it tighten to?
The road lane stays the same.
So you're not, I thought you said you're gonna have to slightly jog over.
No,
it.
you slightly jog over because you're making the walkway narrower. So you're taking the distance, that distance to create the median, you're making the walkway 5 instead of 7 feet.
So the lane itself doesn't have to adjust?
No, it does
Okay.
not change.
So
No,
my only
I wouldn't-
concern there was someone pulling 35-foot boat or a big trailer. I wanted to make sure it didn't catch the
Oh,
rear
no.
axle of that, so, well,
There'll
thank
be
you.
a gradual taper to before the
Yeah,
median.
but the lane itself, you're saying, just stays
Correct.
straight.
Correct.
Perfect. That's perfect. The light poles on the median, again, it's not a concern, it's just something to point out. If someone's pulling a big boat, 35 feet with a T-top, make sure that light pole that's hanging over the edge there doesn't clip the T-top of a boat or something like that.
Well, if you look at the bridge heights,
Yeah,
13 and a half feet, this is a 16-foot high light fixture.
okay.
But we could make that even,
Well,
we could make
I
that
just-
taller if we need to.
Yeah, it's okay. I just want to bring that up, think about that, and make sure that we're not
Yeah, well, no, we
having
wouldn't want
to
to do that.
redo that. Okay, it looks great, it looks good, I like it, it's not too much, it's a nice design, it's a big upgrade, it checks a lot of the boxes, and it's not too much, so thank
I
you.
think it'll be subtle, but it's such an improvement, visual,
Yes.
my opinion, but.
Thank you.
So, thank you also for the presentation, and I know we've come a long way. You took our comments earlier, but I'm especially impressed that at the public meeting, there was a lot of conversation about looks and things like that, and you guys listened to what the public had to say and the participants, and you took that into design, so I certainly do appreciate that. It looks like it's going to be a very nice project. If we just bury the power lines, it'll be 100% better.
That
so-
alone will be huge.
Yes, so thank you very much for all your
Thank you, appreciate it.
My only concerns were, overall, fantastic. I mean, this is going to be really, really nice. Same concerns as Vice Mayor was lane width 11.5. There is that slight jog at the intersection. It looks like if I go to slide 11 of 11, or 10 of 10 on the actual presentation, 11 in the agenda pack. So yeah, that one. So it does look like it kind of jogs over, but I see some tapering there. I'm picturing that is the way that the large boats come. I mean, Kyle, you've seen it. That's the way the big vessels come in. I like it in one sense because it does have that calming effect. That's what we're hoping to enhance pedestrian safety. But I also don't want to see our light pole and or that concrete curbing and everything right there just constantly getting beaten to death by boats that don't quite make the jog. All these folks that are driving these big trailers aren't the best at driving the big trailers.
Well, the drawing that's up now is my hand drawn. It's over a survey, but I think when it's engineered, all those subtleties will be figured out. They'll
Pretty
make sure it's
diminished.
a smooth transition for sure.
Okay. And I would suggest probably there, I mean, do what you have to do with pedestrian safety, but probably rather than a hard curb, a sloped up curb. That way if a vehicle does hit it, I don't know how we should do that or not. Maybe it should be a hard curb to, make sure they don't run up on the whole thing. But just being conscious of trailer traffic through there, I think is the major thing.
Yes, I think it's, it's like such a narrow
Yeah.
thing that it's going to be, when we have a long approach to it,
Yeah.
we're going to have a time to taper that. It's still going to be a calming effect slightly,
Yeah.
but I think we'll work on that. There'll be a whole team of people working on that.
Yeah. And then the only other thing, and this is a detail we don't have to figure out tonight, but just to so that I brought it up because it was brought to me, is the property ownership at the corner have approached with some concerns on making sure we've got a certain curb cut access to their property, and some other things. So I'm sure you all figure out that detail working with that property owner.
Absolutely.
Figure out a way to address their concerns. So, all right. So I heard large consensus around this. So I think you're good to go on this.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Kyle, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, Mayor, what we're looking tonight is for the commission. We have two options. One option is without the median, and an option with the median. When we presented this project at the public meeting in February, the majority of the attendees were not in favor of the island. So I just want to make sure that the commission is aware of that. That's number one. I stood out there Saturday for about 2 hours, and there is quite a bit of large boats that travel on Washington east and west constantly, especially the time between 9 and 12 in the morning. The width of the lane, when Commissioner McGurk asked, or Vice Mayor McGurk asked, you have 11.6, the width of the lane, and then the curb and gutter is 1 foot 6 inches, but you cannot count the 6 inches as part of the thing. So it would be, with the concrete lip, it will be 12.5 based on this typical design. So the commission, if they select the concept and the cross-section, it doesn't mean that you're approving the whole entire project, but it's important for you to select the option, because as we move forward, it'll be difficult and expensive to go back and make the changes. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of the public comments, number one, and then also the trees within the sidewalk. I know one time you mentioned a comment about the west side, and I mentioned to you that was because of the width of the right-of-way. It's almost a similar issue here. So you will have, there is not much room there. You plant the tree, but it would not look as wide as if you have, a 50-foot or 60-foot right-of-way. So it's important for the commission to select the option in terms of the cross-section.
Gotcha. So what I took the proposal as was most of it looks like this, but there is the median concept applied at the two intersections of
Yes.
right
And
here
it-
and down
and-
in Orange.
At one point, on an overall plan, I was proposing the median at Orange Street, and now the broken median that we're talking about that you can drive through, at Orange Street, at Faulkner, and between Rush Streets. What I mean by that is not at Rush Street, but between them. And the reason for that was to kind of create a consistent theme for what Washington Street was, and not only have it at two intersections, to have that treatment. So that's where I had proposed it, and I know there was some discussion about that in the meeting I wasn't able to attend, but that is where it has been proposed, at Orange Street, Faulkner, and between Rush Streets. And there would be a light in those locations, lights in
Okay.
those locations.
Commissioner Cluey.
Well, I do like the plan as it is shown with the medians in it. I think it's very good. There's been a number of changes made along the way. I did attend that meeting where the residents were out there, and they were split. Some liked it, some didn't like the median, but I think this sets a good precedent for how we should improve what are almost thoroughfares through there. Shouldn't use that word, but you do get a lot of big boats going through there. And if nothing else, it'll kind of keep them on the road. They won't try to make turns into the side streets to avoid traffic. So I like the plan as it's shown.
Okay. Any other comments? I agree. I like the plan as it's shown. Sorry, go ahead.
I think both plans are good. I'm just concerned about the trailer width as opposed to the lane width. As I understand, trailers are normally about 8.5 feet wide. It seems like you'll have enough width. My other two concerns were the stormwater provision. They'll go to the normal outfall where that water had gone before, only it'll have different fixtures.
Correct. I think Sharon mentioned there'll be like curb inlets in lieu of just inlets, in the pavement itself. But we'll also model, like, obviously the pre and post peak continuation. So whatever flow, volume, and rate, the two items, will be equal or less than what there is today being discharged downstream. So if we have to put in treatment devices, we certainly will do that. So yeah, stormwater improvements are part of the project, but that's into the details of it.
So you don't think any water treatment baffle boxes, just one to mention, would be that cost prohibitive?
No, that's certainly on the table. If we want to do a CDS structure, something of that nature, we certainly can do that. But I haven't done the calculations. We actually may have less impervious surface at the proposed design than we do at the existing conditions.
Yes. My only other concern was the input from residents and merchants along Orange. You have enough positive feedback to go ahead with the one-way, and people are comfortable with that?
Currently, the consensus was in support of that, correct? Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments over here?
I don't want to muddy it up.
So I was also at that meeting, and I think some of the concern they had with the medium was the issue with, we were talking 10-foot drive lanes at that time. So we've increased the actual width of the road, and the mediums have stayed smaller than I think one of the original designs did. So I'm happy with the medium process. I like that concept, and I like that one to go forward.
Good.
Any other comments?
All right. Okay, I heard at least 3 or 4 of us that agreed kind of as presented with the medians at the locations presented, so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thanks, Kyle. Kyle, today is his 20th anniversary with the city. I saw on LinkedIn this morning. So congratulations, Kyle. He agreed out there in the lobby before the meeting, he agreed to 20 more years, Kyle had, so I was glad to hear that. Okay, next item up is public participation. This is your chance to address the city commission. If you would approach the podium, if you give your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes. There's a timer right there. There's a lot of folks who may be here to speak, so I ask you to be respectful of that. I'll try to give you some kind of a signal. I don't like cutting people off. It's not in my nature, but I will if I have to. So 3 minutes. Address the commission, and then once everyone is finished talking, this is your chance to talk. So once everyone is finished talking and saying their piece, I may respond to a few of those comments, and then the commission also has a chance to respond at the end of the meeting and mayor commission comments, or we may ask staff to follow up with some of you, and that's why it's important you give your name and address so we can find you if we need to follow up. So with that, I'll open it up for public participation. Come right ahead. And speak into the microphone as well, if you would, so folks can hear you.
My name is Frederick Goldstein. I live at 513 Faulkner Street. I'm here this evening about the state statute which deals with tree removal. It's under Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. I'm here this evening because I believe this issue is going to become coming up more and more, because what the legislature has done is taken away certain authorities for the city and put an exception into the statute. And I say, and I think it's very important to look at what the state did as an exception, because if you don't follow that statute, then you're required to follow all of the city ordinances. Okay, so I think that there's really very little you can do, but there are a couple of things, and it just so happens that there was a case out of Escambia County where this issue came up, and it went to an appellate court. They did fine for the landowner. However, they also indicated that if the property owners have not met these conditions, the conditions in the statute, by getting a certified arborist or a landscape architect, then the statute does not relieve them from obligations of the local rules. As long as a local government does not require notice, we see no impediment to it asking for documentation required by Section 163-0451 If a property owner has not complied with the statute and has violated a local code, nothing in the statute protects the owner from penalties under the local code. Now, it's my understanding that there's no obligation to file anything as it stands right now. And it seems to me that the two things that really should be in an ordinance is that if you're going to hire an expert, that expert has nothing to do with the landowner, it has nothing to do with the tree removal service. That, I think, is critical. The second point is, I think it's also incumbent on the commission to put in an ordinance that you have to file this document, this report. Now, they're not going to, now it uses the word documentation, which, you know, is a term of art, but it's going to have to relate to what the experts are saying. But for example, the ordinance could very easily make sure that the documentation is there, because if it's not there, then you come under the codes. There's a lot of people who are very upset about the trees, the oak trees. It's a big part of this. There's a lot of people. I don't know how many people are here, but how many people are here for the? It's a big issue. There's beautiful oak trees, and I see I'm about to get the hook. So I thank you very much, Commissioners, for giving me the opportunity to be here this evening, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, come right ahead.
Hi, my name is Norma Donovan. I live at 412 Oliver Drive, and I have already provided you all with a copy of a LA Times article about Santa Barbara's experience with a Chick-fil-A, and I've also provided you with a copy of the Chick-fil-A's plan for the restaurant that they want to put at State Road 44. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I want to speak out against the Chick-fil-A proposal for the site on State Road 44 between Oliver Drive and Timberlane Drive. Chick-fil-A is the wrong business for this location because of the volume of its business. Chick-fil-A is notorious for the traffic problems it creates. Santa Barbara, California is considering whether to declare their Chick-fil-A a public nuisance because Chick-fil-A's overflow traffic blocks entrances to neighboring businesses, blocks the bicycle lane, blocks sidewalks, and forces emergency vehicles to detour around the area. In 2020, 3 unrelated business owners from different parts of the country sued Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A's overflow prevented the business owners' customers from reaching their businesses or from leaving their businesses. Normally, we see Chick-fil-A overflow traffic extending into an adjacent mall. With this location, overflow traffic will extend onto State Road 44 and into the well-established residential neighborhoods the site abuts. I live in one of those neighborhoods, Oliver Estates. There are just over 100 homes in this very peaceful 60-year-old neighborhood. Kids play on the streets, neighbors walk the 1-mile loop around the neighborhood, sometimes more than once, ride bikes, and walk dogs. In the evenings, it is just awesome to hear the owls calling to each other, and when they really get wound up, it's just like you think you're in the jungle. One of the entrances Chick-fil-A is proposing is inside Oliver Estates. It's past our entrance walls and our landscaped island on Oliver Drive. Chick-fil-A customers will also be able to reach that entrance by turning south from State Road 44 onto South Glencoe, entering Oliver Estates' back entrance on Lydia. From Lydia, there are 2 roads inside Oliver Estates that Chick-fil-A customers will be able to take to reach the proposed Oliver Drive entrance. And if you look at their plans, you'll see that the Chick-fil-A drive-through terminates at the Oliver Drive entrance. This sleepy little bit of country neighborhood cannot take the traffic or overflow that a Chick-fil-A would bring. The volume of traffic, the noise, the trash, the general disruption that a Chick-fil-A will bring will change our little neighborhood's personality completely. A Chick-fil-A at this location is wrong for New Smyrna Beach, and is wrong for the residential neighborhoods that abut the proposed site. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kathy Vaughn. I live at 519 Faulkner Street. For more than 40 years, I've lived within the area now designated as the city's Mainland National Register district with a high concentration of historic homes. In the past few years, my neighbors and I have become aware of recently purchased properties in our neighborhoods where tree companies have been brought in to destroy one or more of the 100-year-old live oak trees, as well as cedar trees and palms. Each time these mature trees are flattened, it damages the historic charm and character of our community and adversely affects neighbors. I understand the same demolition of the tree canopy is happening on the beach side as well, which may include some properties in the Coronado National Register District. To date, we've been advised there is nothing the city can do about this tree destruction due to Florida Statute 163045, which imposes restrictions on local governments relating to the removal of trees on residential property if the property owner obtains documentation from a certified arborist or Florida licensed landscape architect. However, I was given a May 2021 letter from a Winter Park City Commissioner to her constituents. It contains some interesting points that may give the city a window to restrict at least some tree destruction in the future. In particular, the Winter Park official mentioned that for the purpose of interpreting Florida Statute 163045, the city of Winter Park treats all residential lots zoned R3 and up as commercial lots. This means that standalone single-family homes, this is her comment, and duplexes are considered residential lots by the city. Everything else is considered commercial. For those who would say the latter two sentences of that paragraph are the controlling passages, I'd answer that there are any number of homes located on properties in the city's zoning districts, such as B2 neighborhood business and B3 highway service business. It is the overall zoning that controls what may be developed on those lots, not the existing structures standing on them. So two of the most local examples of tree destruction we've had are along Faulkner Street. In both the cases, those properties are zoned R4 multifamily. So in Winter Park, at least, the R4 zoning would have been considered commercial property, and therefore the city's own tree preservation laws, not the Florida statute, would have governed the tree removal. So I'd ask that you could consider administering the city's tree ordinance as well as follow the city of Winter Park's example and designate any properties other than New Smyrna's standalone single-family and duplex zoning districts as commercial. Assuming that designation is made, I'm asking the city to request tree report documentation from property owners when they learn of plans to remove trees in the standalone districts that I mentioned earlier, and if they learn of ongoing tree removal operations in those areas or learn of trees that have already been destroyed. And if you can put those tree reports online where they can be viewed or downloaded because they're a public record at that point, I think that the citizens would really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Johansson.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Jake Johansson. I'm a candidate for the Volusia County Council at-large position. I'd like to talk to you today about what I intend to do should I get elected. In addition to properly funding public safety at the county level, having a fiscally conservative budget, prioritizing and safeguarding our environment, ensuring we get better jobs and a renewed county-wide emphasis on affordable housing, and providing ethical, transparent leadership between the county and our partner cities, all 16 of them. I promise to vehemently support home rule, ensuring that our state does not encroach on the government's ability to act, the government closest to the people, you all in this case. And I also promise to be transformational, not transactional, on the county council. I want to move us forward to be a county council, a visionary county council, not one that's just trying to take care of local problems, but one that tries to make our county one of the best in the state. I would like to represent you all as an at-large candidate. I'd like you to consider me for the at-large position when it comes voting time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jake. Thank you. Any others? Yes, ma'am, come right ahead.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
My name is Deborah Shaw. I was born and raised here in the state of Florida, and I live on Dora Street, 644, and I have begged for 18 years to get more than one stop sign and more than one speed limit sign. And since I don't live on Faulkner and I don't live over here where we're talking about improving, where there's probably 200 cars a month that go there, my route gets 2,000 cars a week. I'm not exaggerating, because when we have an accident at North Dixie Freeway and the 7-Eleven and Blackbeard's, they use my street as a cut through. So Taco Shack is growing, so they're parking semis in front of my house. I have a picture on my phone when I got home today. I could not even get in my own driveway because they're parking on the road edge, and then cars try to pass, so they've taken all my hedges out. The neighbor took his fence down because there was no sense in trying to keep a fence. I'm grandfathered in to keep my mailbox on the house, but the mailbox is probably gonna have to go to the post office box. All I want is either they promised me my street would be widened, but they have to do some kind of sewerage and check the drainage. That was 2 years ago in the makings and telling us that. They came down to the end of the street, they patched a couple potholes, that became a big nightmare, and they've never been back since. The police put a radar between there to see how many cars went through there. They seen a large quantity of cars that come to and from there. It's in front of a brand-new school that we just built. We have kids that walk home from school. They run home. They don't walk home because there's no safety. There's no sidewalks. We used to have our roads and our sidewalks where the kids get feel safe to come back and forth. I, as now, am looking because my grandkids live on that street. And I've been told that we were going to look into having ours being widened. I understand Faulkner and everything is beautiful and needs that glorious look, but I would like some safety for the children they just built a $7 million school for. Thank you.
What was your address again? I'm sorry.
644 Dora Street.
Dora Street, got it. Thank you. Others, yes, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Dumais. I am a senior at New Smyrna Beach High School, and I am a local Students Working Against Tobacco member, or SWAT, and I'm the chairperson for Tobacco Free Volusia. And we would like to invite you guys to our next Tobacco Free Volusia meeting. These meetings are held on the second Wednesday of every month from 4 to 5 p.m. at the Port Orange Lakeside Community Center. At these meetings, we discuss tobacco and nicotine use and prevention in Volusia County. Most of the time it's geared towards our youth. And for more details on that, you can visit tobaccofreevolusia.com. We are also searching for youth ages 12 to 17 to join our Students Working Against Tobacco Club and to help fight back against big tobacco companies. And for more information on that, you can go to swatflorida.com.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Helms, and I am the SWAT coordinator for Volusia County. In addition to the information provided by Allie, I would also like to raise awareness for cessation resources we have available in Volusia County. If you or anyone you know would like to cease the use of tobacco or nicotine products, please visit tobaccofreeflorida.com or call 877-822-6669. Also, I would like to provide a couple of statistics that highlight the importance of our mission. Annually, 480,000 Americans die from tobacco use, and here in Volusia County, 1 out of 4 high school teens are currently using tobacco and nicotine products. Thank you for your time, and I will email each of you these resources and meeting dates.
And also, just my goal is to aid in the creation of an upcoming nicotine addiction-free generation. And I believe that we can achieve that with our local community and government support. So if any of you guys would be interested in being a part of preventing our local preteens and teenagers from developing potential lifelong addictions, I urge anyone that is interested to attend our monthly meeting this year. And thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Thank you all. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's a great cause.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. My name is Pasquale Pat Brignola. I live at 391 South Timberlane Drive. I've emailed you and hard copied you on the issue with the opposition to Chick-fil-A at the proposed location. Let you know that I'm not opposed to Chick-fil-A in New Smyrna Beach. I'm just opposed at the current location that's out there in the application side. We have a petition circulating now to oppose this, and I'd like to quote some applicable comprehensive plan paragraphs for the record. The State Road 44 Corridor Planned Unit Development paragraph on page Roman numeral 2-20 of the future land use element. And I quote, the State Road 44 corridor, particularly the undeveloped area west of Old Mission Road, should be developed in a manner to protect adjacent residential neighborhoods from adverse impacts of unbridled commercial development, unquote. The State Road 44 corridor paragraph on page Roman numeral 2-12 of the future land use element quotes, high volumes of traffic on State Road 44, unquote. The quote, the future growth on State Road 44 be consistent and compatible with the desires of New Smyrna Beach community. And it talks about the city has adopted arterial corridor regulations which govern development along State Road 44. These regulations are ensure safe ingress to and egress from proposed development, reduce the number of indiscriminate driveways, and control site development. The startup and site development issues, there's an extensive number of rules that exist in the MDA, the CDP, the LDR, and St. Johns River Management District Wetlands regulations, which were designed to preserve, protect, ensure conformity of the codes and cause the least environmental impact, that must be amended, changed, altered, or manipulated to get approval to build on this site. The site selection abutting a residential area is unprecedented and a glaring departure from Chick-fil-A's normal selection of sites adjacent to or within a commercial shopping center. The water drainage easement is significantly reduced by almost half due to parking lot paving. The use of residential streets to access the department or the access and depart the establishment adversely impacts the residents of Oliver Estates and those on South Timberlane Drive. Conceptual plan falls short on most traffic issues. The east side entrance must be used as an access through the Verizon parking lot. Access from westbound traffic on State Road 44 is not addressed. The entrance exit behind Verizon is not in alignment with the Colony Park extension, which passes to the west of the ABC store and on to South Timberlane Drive. Traffic management, a traffic memorandum is not a study. It's an outdated uses of the 2016 study of potential Verizon traffic to address a very popular traffic generating dual lane drive-through restaurant. Traffic has exponentially increased since 2016 with new housing and apartment construction, new restaurants, gas stations, specialty stores, and businesses adding to already strained. There's so many moving parts to this that I'll just close in. In conclusion, the potential exists to further interrupt quality of life in these long-held residential areas to serve growing commercial aspirations. As property owners directly impacted by this development, it is our right and civic duty to attempt to preserve our property investment and avoid massive property valuation. Okay. Especially when ill-formulated proposals allow to compromise written standards of zoning, environment, and lifestyle.
All right. So
I appreciate it. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And just in case anybody's confused, Chick-fil-A is not on the agenda tonight. These folks are just trying to get out ahead of it, which is totally fine. But just in case someone thinks we're about to approve a Chick-fil-A tonight. Come ahead, Mr. England.
Good evening. Richard England. I'm not a resident of New Smyrna Beach, but I am the president of the Hub and a vice president of the Canal Street Historic District. At one of the commission meetings last month when you all approved the continuation of the rest of the year Canal Street Nights events, Commissioner Colodi suggested that he would love a representative of the organization to come back and give an update on how it's going. So I'm here to do that. We've now had 3 of the Canal Street Night events, January, February, and March, and they have been pretty much an unqualified success in our opinion. We've had somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people for each one. Live music, 2 bands on the street each time, family-friendly event, lots of kids, lots of families, pretty darn good merchant participation. I'd still like to see more, but we're working on it. The restaurants from one end of the street to the other end have been full pretty much the entire evening, which is an atypical situation compared to most Thursday nights, so they're definitely happy about that. Kids' activities, as we promised, we had clowns there a couple of times. Snow White has wandered the street. There was a leprechaun last week out on the street. Every time I've gotten pretty much nothing but rave reviews from the people I've spoken to. And as far as I know, there's been no problems anywhere on the street, any of the 3 times. And I have walked the street the entire 4 hours, actually 5 hours, starting from before it happened, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So, and I'm also happy to report that last Thursday night, which happened to be St. Patty's Day, we had a lovely quiet night on Canal Street. Everybody seemed to have a very good time. And I'd like to thank you all for the lights, the new crosswalk that was added, the trash cans. Everybody loves the lights. That's a huge deal, probably more impactful than anything that's happened so far. And so I would love to invite you to come and join us perhaps on April 21st, which is the next event that's going to take place. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Richard was not on Flagler.
He was not, that is true.
I'm Sally Gillespie. I live at 610 North Peninsula. And it struck me tonight as I listened to everyone that in some way we're talking about the pressures of development and the failure of our legislature to recognize the struggle we have as communities to keep our identity and our character. And it's a challenge. And no one knows this better than you gentlemen who deal with this constantly every legislative session. Tonight, though, I want to say that I don't think we're without some tools in the city's tool chest. A big hunk of our historic core, our 2 commercial historic districts and the residential districts that surround them, are in the National Register of Historic Places. Historically, our city commissions have pretty much ignored this, thought that it was nice, but not really too important. But it has become very important to us if we're to retain our historic core. The National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 created through the National Park District this system of protection called National Historic Register. We're lucky enough to have been put on it about 30 years ago, and now it's time to use it because the intent of Congress, and still is to create ordinances that protect these districts. And local governments were bypassed in the process because they wanted to empower the people to do this. I would urge you to give a green light to our wonderful city manager, Colick, who in turn will activate the staff to bring some ordinances to you that are very similar to those of other cities in Florida who also have National Register districts, and see if we can't come up with at least some methods for retention of that which so defines us. And real quickly, before my time is up, a plug for the Find. I appreciate what you did on March 8th in voting to accept a Find grant application, and hopefully tonight you'll broaden that even more. You're doing a great job, and I thank you for it.
Thank you, Sally.
James Grummer, 536 Ball Street, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I just wanted to read you a quote from a book that if you haven't read, you should read. It's called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. You've read it?
I've read it.
Okay, good, because we're past the tipping point. When it takes 43 minutes to drive from 95 to the Walgreens, I feel like I I'm back to where I was before. I feel like I came here to experience something different, and that was Chicago, by the way, where I had to plan my life based on traffic patterns. I now plan my life based on traffic patterns. I came here because I didn't want a Starbucks. And now we have, without question, the ugliest Starbucks, congratulations, in all of Volusia County. All right. Now, Gladwell said this, all right, once you're past the tipping point, guess what? You can't recover. That's what he said. But there must be a way out of this. I don't know what it is. But when it takes, the interesting thing about the Washington Street drawing for just a moment, and I was laughing with my wife, is that the only thing that was missing in those pictures and renderings were the bumper-to-bumper cars. It's like we've got to dial into what's really going on. Last point I'd like to make, and this is an emotional one. I have to say, as a resident of this town, and I came here in 1971, I was embarrassed by the pictures that came across the Daytona News Journal and even picked up by West 2 News about the open container, the rowdiness, stealing from stores. I mean, we have got to figure it out. And to sit there and say, I hate it, I don't want it anymore, and I want to move, isn't the solution. So I just ask you that with every decision you make, with every single one, is it accelerating the tipping point? Are we exacerbating the situation? Will we go from 43 minutes to more? I certainly hope not. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Scott, they've applauded everyone else so far.
I promise I
I
have
don't
something positive to
have the
say.
voice to fight it tonight. So they're just so hopefully you get some applause as well. What do you
Scott
got?
Steger, we'll go with 431 Canal Street, one of my offices. A couple things. Really great drawings on Washington Street, and I love the way the layout looks. I would just caution on the medians, people getting in and out of their driveways. You talked about boats earlier. If you've got to back something into a driveway along Washington Street, you're going to be really impeded by a median. Or if you've got a dually like mine, it's kind of hard to make some of those corners. So just as they're designing, a little caution on that would probably be advisable. Something came to me at a meeting I was in a couple of days ago about parking in and around the Canal Street area and the Utility Commission parking lot and the possibility of doing something along the lines of a parking garage at that location. Don't know if that's ever been considered, but it was the first time I'd heard that. Thought it might be something you guys want to kick around a little bit. Canal Street Nights is going great. Having an office on Canal Street, it's been terrific. The people on the street have been just amazing, and I think it's really gone very, very well. And I would just like to sort of wrap up with a positive story. On that same night, St. Patty's Day, we had an event at the Brandon Center, which, by the way, keep the rates low like they are now because people are using the heck out of it. And I finally had a great awards ceremony there. Coming home that night, I stopped at my office at the corner of Canal and Orange in my truck. Was stuck out a little bit into Canal Street. It was 11 o'clock on Thursday night. There were only about 4 cars on the road. As it turns out, 2 of them were police cars. One of them stopped behind me as I was unloading stuff off of my truck. I talked to the chief about this earlier today. It was a young female officer or a new female officer. I believe her name was Stephanie. She got out of the truck and she could have approached me in 10 different ways. 9 of them were not positive. And when I saw the police car pull up, I thought, oh man, I don't need this. It's late, I'm ready to go home. She came around the corner, the first thing she said was, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm just, and it was clear I had food trays putting in the refrigerator. I said, yeah, I'm just unloading the truck. She goes, well, I've stopped, so I got to run your tag and make sure everything's okay. I lifted the tailgate up so she could run the tag. She ran my tag, and darn if she didn't come around the corner and help me carry the rest of the stuff into my office. And I just wanted to say, from a law enforcement perspective, I was proud to be here in New Smyrna. I was proud to work in this community, and I think more of our cops are like that than like what you see on the TV and like you see on the news and like you see sometimes on YouTube. So congratulations to you guys for hiring great people, to Chief Coffin for his leadership, and just to Stephanie, thank you very much for carrying the food in. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks, Scott. Yes, ma'am.
Teresa Bowen, 310 Rush Street, and I'm here to address the issue of the destruction that has recently taken place in our historic district with the tree removal. Is starting to happen more frequently than necessary. And I understand that the city has their hands tied apparently because of the state law that requires an arborist to declare a tree diseased. But I feel that if a separate arborist can be hired by the city that doesn't have an interest in cutting the trees down, I think it's a conflict of interest. And I think that the fees that are required to hire that arborist could be taken on by the property owner so it doesn't cost the city anything. It's just really getting out of hand, and I think we're going to lose a lot of our character and charm in our historic districts. And I really appreciate everyone who showed up tonight to support this destruction. Not destruction.
We know what you meant.
You know what I mean. But if I could ask everybody to stand up and just be recognized for being here and taking their time to... Thank you.
Thank you. Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am. If you'd like to speak after this young lady, there's another chair right here up front. You can come on down. Come ahead.
Hello, my name is Joyce Riddle, and I live at 137 C Street. And I wanted to come and thank you all today, Commissioners, Mayor Owen, and especially Mayor Sachs, Vice Mayor Sachs, and Commissioner Randy Hartman for supporting Southeast Volusia Audubon and our Plants for Trees, native plants for birds and trees. And we are currently working with a wonderful group, David Ray, your operations manager, and John, the supervisor of operations. We've designated 2 native plants for bird sites, one at Babe James Center and the other at Myrtle Park. And we hope to give some new life to Myrtle Park. And this is the city I know, the city that stands behind these things. And thank you all for your support and your enlightenment. And thank you for these wonderful people that we've got to work with, that without them, we couldn't accomplish this job of ours, which is to encourage people to plant native and to protect this wonderful ecosystem that we're stewards of. And so about the trees. Yes, the trees are magnificent, and we need to find ways together to educate people about their value and to save them. And I don't know if you know Doug Talamay, but he is definitely a sponsor and advocate, a writer of books in regards to native plants and trees. And just a couple of statistics, why trees are valuable, and in particular, our lovely native oak trees. Native oaks, it's the only tree that has the distinction of being able to support 4,000 different types of species, animals, insects, birds, and plants. The other thing about our oaks is they've been deemed by the University of Florida in post-hurricane destruction site tallies as the most wind-resistant tree. Their leaves will leave the tree at high winds, and the tree has a great root system that grows beneath our good soil here, much better than soil in South Florida, and our trees stand hardy, and they do. You can see those 150-year-old oaks. They've been through a lot of hurricanes and survived. The other thing about trees that people know, and I just want to quote, is one large tree, provides 260 pounds of oxygen each year, which can support 10 people as they inhale. The other thing they do is they take care of our carbon emissions, and they reduce carbon emissions 48 pounds a year. So we want these trees. And I also want to thank the county for the tree grant that enables us at our Plants for Birds gardens to plant coexisting trees which create these wonderful vital networks for plants and birds and insects. So thank you for
Yes,
all
ma'am.
you do.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth Marachnik, and I grew up and spent most all of my life at 1107 Palmetto Street. And I just want to start by saying I have an organic farm, and when I started my organic farm in 2009, many of my neighbors told me that I would be unable to grow healthy plants without the use of inputs such as pesticides, fertilizers, and herbicides. My neighbors told me that the land here in Florida was just not healthy enough to grow crops, that the soil wasn't good enough, that the ecosystem was too harsh, that the bugs were too many, that there were many diseases, that the humidity was too much. And so human encroachment was needed, or human inputs were needed in order to make plants healthy. I took an approach to farming that looked at the whole ecosystem. This approach to farming is now called regenerative farming. It's very popular, and there's much research to show that when ecosystems are healthy, that all the parts of the ecosystem, all plants that we cultivate within that ecosystem are healthy, that our watersheds are healthy, that our rivers are healthy, and they will thrive. I'm not here to talk about farming and gardening, although I do love to talk about these things. But I mention my experience as it is relevant to my knowledge of ecosystems, just as I know that all of your experience is very relevant when it comes to city planning. I'm here to take a minute to think about how we address New Smyrna Beach's policies around our trees. Trees filter and regulate the flow of water. In urban and suburban settings, a single deciduous tree can intercept from 500 to 760 gallons per year, and a single mature oak tree can intercept more than 40,000 gallons of water a year. That means it intercepts it and it cleans it before it goes into our waterways. We have a lot of rain in our ecosystem, and our rain events are getting heavier and heavier every year. That means we need more trees to regulate this. Not just saving the ones we have, but we need more. Studies have shown that having mature trees near roadways, in parking lots, it has a huge impact on reducing stormwater because it works to reduce peak flows in urban areas. In older existing communities, increasing tree canopy over and along streets, in yards and in parking lots, has also been shown to have positive impacts on our watersheds and our waterways. I mention this because we are facing a crisis right now with our waterway, and it's affecting our population, it's affecting our tourism, it's affecting our recreation, right? The Indian River Lagoon, the water runoff in that area, because of our communities and because of our roadways, it's in need of serious help. This ecosystem that we are a part of is facing many challenges and threats. And as someone who has learned how to work with an ecosystem as a whole to create vibrant, healthy, thriving gardens using only the smallest of interventions, I will tell you that sometimes the simplest solutions have the biggest impact. I hope that we consider our growth in this community. I hope that when we consider our growth in this community, we will consider trees. I hope that when we consider educating new community members that move here from different areas, we will consider educating them about trees. I hope that when we consider how to save electricity and resources as the cost of these go up, we will consider trees.
Ma'am,
I hope that we consider a healthy Indian River Lagoon, we will consider trees.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Do you mind if I just say something real quick before you speak, just for those, because I know some may even be leaving. I just want to say on the tree issue, and if you're still here to speak on that, that's absolutely fine. But not everything, but a lot of things that we've heard tonight from you all were things that this commission talked about when we passed, just before the state overrode us, when we passed a strengthened tree ordinance in New Smyrna Beach. We expanded our definition of historic and other types of trees that were protected and that would have to come before the commission for removal. We talked when the state was considering this. We lobbied along with the League of Cities. Many that are sitting on this dais, probably each of us shared concerns about the conflict of interest and the fact that the same person that would be cutting down the tree was providing the arborist report. Like, those aren't facts and nuances that were lost on anyone up here. So we appreciate your engagement, and my hope is, my sincere hope, and I think I speak for the commission, is that you take that engagement to the source of the problem, which in my view, I'm not saying that we can't do anything, but as you all have accurately noted, much of our hands are tied. But there is absolutely things that can be done, and I hope that this same passion can be displayed and let those at the state level know. They did refine that ordinance or that state statute just a little bit this legislative session. That tells me they are hearing some of this feedback from the cities. So they did make a few tweaks this session. It will go into effect if signed by the governor July 1st. But it doesn't quite accomplish everything that we would like as a commission, as a city, and from what I've heard tonight as a community. So I just wanted you to know all that I think it was unanimous, 5-0. We had a large debate in this community. We heard you. We were in agreement with you. But now we've got to take the fight to where we can solve that problem, which is in Tallahassee. So just wanted to share that with you all in case on the tree issue, so that maybe we can, so you all know where we stand on that. So sorry to do that to you, Jay, but.
No, it's nice hearing it. I understand everything you said. Jay Pendergast, 5900 South Atlantic. I just wanted to give you an update. I spoke to you when you had the joint meeting with the city, with the UC, and I've continued talking about the downtown parking garage with business owners, property owners, organizations, and you'll soon be seeing the letters of support that we're gathering. So I just wanted to give you an update to let you know we haven't gone away. We're growing in strength, and the location that we're talking about does not involve removing any trees. Thank you.
Way to play to the crowd there, Jay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Devin Dempsey. I live at 208 Marshall Street. I am going to be talking about the trees. I have a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old, and if you've ever watched the movie The Lorax, or you read the book maybe by Dr. Seuss, it's a great read, and it kind of goes through talking about how, this guy with good intentions, he took down one tree at a time, and then at the end of the book, there were no trees left. And so the Lorax is this little furry guy, and he pops out of one of the trees, and he says, "I speak for the trees because the trees have no tongues." And so, a lot of people have said that we all really care about the beauty of the neighborhood that we live in over here off of Faulkner, and that's one of the reasons why I bought in that area. And just in the last year, we've had 2 houses right around the corner from us that have taken trees down that were, I suppose they deemed them unsafe, but they had been there for many years, and it just so happens that they had plans to put things there, like pools and garages and decorative fencing. And so it's hard for me to believe that these trees were so dangerous until they bought there, and because they wanted to put different things there, now they have been deemed unsafe. I know that we kind of talked about, I reached out to you when the trees first started coming down, and I understand that the city has very limited capabilities of what you can do. I think that there were a couple things that were brought up that maybe we need to try to figure out how to go around what the state has implemented. In Leon County, there are designated tree canopy zones, and if you are within 100 feet of the middle of the roadway, you cannot take certain trees down. I think we have certain areas like that, like Faulkner and Magnolia and Live Oak and all those streets that have these huge live oak trees, that if we gave them some kind of designation, I think that would give us some protection from the state law that's saying that these people can just do whatever they want to. Obviously, it's huge conflict of interest for the person that's making the money off of taking the trees down to be able to say that they're unsafe. I think it was also very heartbreaking to me. I know Scott touched a little bit on how wonderful our police force is, and I think that they do a great job. When the most recent house that took 5 trees down, that were not even, most of them were not even close to the house. It was really a slap in the face to me that it was our police chief that's the one using loopholes to get around this, and he's not an out-of-towner, which I assumed was someone that moved in and didn't know any better and just went to town and hired a tree company. It's someone that already lived in the historic district and moved there, and within 2 weeks of him closing on the house, is chopping these trees down. So that was really disappointing to me to find that out.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Any others tonight for public participation? Yes, ma'am, come in.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, Commissioners, Khalid and Kelly. I'm Pam Eisen. I live at 624 North Riverside Drive. And I want to thank the commissioners and the mayor for getting together last week with that special session to address the problem that we had with spring break. I've mentioned before, I'm third generation from Apopka, Florida. I got a call today from my old hometown talking about what a great job everyone did, and that's nice to have that coming now in my new hometown. Also, I know tonight we have the second reading of the redistricting plan. I think you guys did a great job on that, but I think it's imperative we have a very strong educational program that goes along with that so our citizens know why it happened, how it happened, and what zone they're going to be in after everything changes. Thanks so much.
Thanks, ma'am. Deb?
My name is Deb Exum. I live at 622 Faulkner Street, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I had not planned on speaking tonight, but listening to everyone's passion about the trees on our street, I really do agree. And Washington Street, which is being renovated, revamped, Washington was named after Washington E. Connor. Most of you drive down that street and think, oh, President Washington. No. Washington E. Connor built the North Bridge connecting the mainland to the beachfront. He also built the first free library in our town, and many of you may not know, he was an arborist. He planted a lot of the trees along Faulkner and in the historic district. And I think it's very sad that people drive down Washington, don't even know why it was named after a man who built our first bridge, our free library, and planted all those beautiful trees. So I want you all to consider this. Consider our history. Consider the people that put forth money, effort, time, and their love of this community. And it is so important that this commission pay attention to what's going on with these trees being cut down. That people are doing this out of convenience, to put in garages, to make their lot more convenient for their homestead. What draws people to this community is its historic essence. And it's a slippery slope. You start letting trees be cut down, you start ignoring what the people are telling you, we're going to lose the charm, which is our economic sustainability. This is what brings people to New Smyrna Beach. So I'm here to say, please take this seriously. Please bring in an advocate who is an arborist, who is not on the side of somebody just trying to appease their own needs, and look at the bigger community in terms of what we're doing. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. All right, seeing no others, yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Sullivan Cockrell. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm here on the trees as well. I brought a picture of my house that I built at 303 Rush Street. It's going to be one of the 6 on the Charming House Tour in 2 days. Teresa Bowens is as well, and a couple on Faulkner, Mary and Magnolia. and I just brought that as kind of a visual aid. It took me 38 months before I could move dirt on my lot. I bought it in 2014, and I went through all of the permitting processes. The final step before I could move any dirt was the Historic Preservation Commission. So that's the one that took the longest. I had to get all of my permits, then go before them and get a certificate of appropriateness before I could move dirt. So I guess maybe when the realtors were here earlier, maybe we need to do more to educate the community, the realtors, about the process to go through in certain districts. I grew up in Winter Park, and I was looking at a number the other day. Winter Park population right now is 29,937. New Smyrna Beach population, 29,904. Growing up in Winter Park, I was there during the week and here on the weekends. We're kind of sister cities. But Winter Park, it's a Tree City, USA. It has a whole urban forestry division with several arborists on staff. And so I feel like we need to do more going forward, educate the community, educate the realtors, and then I don't know what your budget is, but is it a possibility? Do we have an arborist on staff?
We do not, and we also don't have Winter Park's tax rate or budget.
Okay. But is it a possibility to at least explore adding an arborist and for educational readings so that we can help people moving forward know the importance of trees? And I did meet with the property owners, and we're going to move forward. Everybody's going to move forward, and I'm hoping for things to calm down a little bit. He does understand that people are angry right now, but he listened, and I listened to him, and things are going to move forward, and we'll all live and learn, and hopefully the trend doesn't continue. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no others for public participation, I'm going to close public participation. So the last thing I was going to say, again, we heard you all on the trees. You'll find no enemies up here on that topic. So look forward to having you all help us advocate at the state level so we can help see those changes through. All right, next item up is the consent agenda. Just trying to make sure there was anything else I missed. Yeah. Next item up is consent agenda. There are 6 items. We'll begin at the end. Commissioner Colodi, anything to pull from that or any quick comments? If you don't want to pull it, if you don't want to vote against it, just a quick comment.
No comments, no pulling.
All right, Commissioner Sachs.
Nothing to pull, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Comment on 6D.
Go ahead.
Not opposed to the project, the generator on Esther Street. I just would like for us to, at some point in time, have a further discussion about the funding source. I know that the ARPA money would be available for this also, and whether or not we want to tie up reserves at this point in time, or maybe put it off for some time later, that we move forward with the project, but just not identify the exact funding for source at this time. Understand we have a meeting coming up later in April, and maybe we can discuss it at that time.
Okay. With that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6A through F?
So moved.
Second.
I'll take the second from the Vice Mayor. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sachs?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Consent agenda is approved. Next item is we have a discussion for the FIND grant. Gentlemen, you'll recall at the last meeting, we had approved a grant proposal, but asked staff to just give a little more time and talk through some other proposals to possibly add to that grant. I think we're going to hear from our FIND commissioner today after we hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor. As you recall, the commission asked us to see if we could add shoreline restoration to the application. I have asked staff to contact, find the staff to see if it's possible that we could add number one, and number two, if they need a new resolution for the application. So obviously they need a new resolution, but what find the staff suggested is for us to submit the application on time as is today, but before May 27th or May 28th, that we could submit a revised application to show the shoreline restoration on it and whatever addition that we needed to do after the application. So my recommendation to the commission at this point is to submit the application as is today and then come back before May 27th or 8th, and then whatever revision we need to make on that find application, we could submit that.
Okay. With that, I think we have a brief presentation from Buddy Davenport, who is our find representative, and I think he's before us today in that capacity. And he's going to talk through kind of what that would look like and give us our options on that. Buddy, we do still have business today. I know you're going to keep it as brief as possible for us. But
Thank you, Mayor,
this is
Commissioners.
important.
Appreciate you very much. Yeah. How do you? Yeah. First, before we get started, I'd like to thank Commissioner Colati for bringing it up last week, the previous commission, that you are the reason that we're getting this opportunity to amend the current grant. College, you've done a wonderful job. You and I have spent hours talking back and forth over the last couple of years. Commissioners, I've visited with y'all. Here's what I see as a fine commissioner. I just got through driving to Port St. Lucie Thursday. I get paid nothing, by the way. Sat in an outreach meeting with the city manager, CRA, and they show off what they've done and what Port of St. Lucie has done, putting millions of dollars into their boardwalk or their botanical gardens. It's profound. And all I hear, and when I talk to my commissioners in our executive committee, Mark Crosley and Janet Zimmerman, we got money and we want to give it to cities, and they want to give it to cities who are excited about reaching out and asking for it. And that's what I'm here for. I've been blessed and honored to get appointed by the governor, 550,000 people, and you've got a resident representing your city. Now, the reason I got that is because of what I've done so many years for the community, and he knows I'm passionate. That being said, I have seen over the years a former mayor, a former other people make several $1 million by selling their land. I'm not saying y'all would do that, but I can see one thing. Down the road, I can see 3 people setting up here that are good friends with a developer that see the land over here where the Marine Discovery Center is right now, and they say, we'll give you $10 million, and all of a sudden that land gets sold. And then all of a sudden it's out of our hands. And what we can do as a city, and I'm passionate about, and all of us as a commission, is we can keep that land in our family for 35 years if we just go get a grant. That being said, I listened loud and clear to you, Jason, regarding are we going to endow it? No. You're going to not be able to sell it. If you do, you got to pay us back the money you got from us. So what I did last week, I spent Thursday night and Friday afternoon, 2.5 hours, with your engineer, with your engineers and your consultants that I couldn't use and pay to get a concept drawn. So what I would approach you tonight to say, if I were you, knowing what I know, number one, what I'm going to request as a fine commissioner, it will not affect your primary safety situation you want now. So, and I'll scoot through that and show you here to make it brief. Hope I'm doing this thing right. Benefits of a park community. I'll read this real quick. Preservation of our current land for our future generations, your children. Russ, your children, your grandchildren, on-site police and fireboat rescue services. I'll show you that in a minute. New economic opportunities, small businesses here. Canal Street, the other beach side, new recreational opportunities for visitors and local residents, additional draw for existing North Causeway businesses, a much-needed expansion of our existing marine footprint. We have 200 to 300 people on our waiting list right now for a boat slip. Okay, what I'm recommending is phase 1 and 2 of this grant, City Commissioner, Manager, and Councilman. Do it in 2 phases. This is what I was advised by your engineer. Do it this way. It's easier to apply, and you don't want to pee them off. That would be the Corps of Engineers, DEP. They don't like piecemealing it. They want to know it all at once, what's going on, even though you don't go for it all at once. So your first part of it would be requesting your funds to build the safety docks. Shoreline bank improvements would be the second part, along with additional docks, floating docks I'm proposing. We got opportunities for additional floating docks, opportunities for paddleboarding kayaks over here. The reason we want to do this now and apply this way is because, number one, I know the city of Daytona is in the process. They're asking for several millions of dollars next year. I met with them. I know other cities. If we just get our name in the hat to give me the opportunity to speak, and there's some crucial dates here. I thought we were going to miss it, but the crucial dates are, we've already met March the 4th. I've signed off on that grant. Okay, that deadline's been met. We don't want to miss March 28th, and we're not. That needs to be 12 noon, by the way, Colin, not 4 p.m. And then the other date is May 16th. Now, between right now and May 16th, when you engage your engineers to go the next step, here's your phase 1 currently of what you've got over there. To your very left of that is, these are all floating docks, replacing your current fixed docks that are dangerous where people are getting in the water and falling. That is not hard to permit, according to Jim Rue and Jerry Scarborough. So that is your first grant right now that you've applied for, Colin. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, so leave that alone. We're not going to mess it up. We're not going to affect it. I talked to Mark about an hour a day about this, reassuring again. Then the next part, you come here. This is called phase 2. You see where your walkway, there's your fixed piers right there, but the floating dock, all that white. I put CP. Now, this is residents that have helped me brainstorm this, but what's going to happen, you're going to have an engineer, your engineers, come down and have a workshop. And then you get to put, this is the workshop part of it. This part is what we're recommending. Okay, so you have floating docks. Why are those floating docks out there? Because when you get a storm, they're backed up. They're waiting out there 2 hours in their boats, these kids and families. But if they could tie up there and wait and get in line to get those boats out, that would be great. Now, by the way, everything that I'm showing you here right now has to be approved with DEP and Corps of Engineers, big time. They will look at every single thing we're doing, but you've already got a dock there, your fishing dock, connect that to. We looked at it and walked it. Looks great. Come to the next one. Now that at the end, you have enough floating docks there for all of that to generate income and to help the residents of this county where they don't have to back their boats into water. And you've got so much rental income coming in there, and Fine's willing to pay 50% of all this. And then you come to the next one, to your left over here, the 2 slips at the very left, I put is the fire and the police, where they could have their boats there, but also you could have about 6 or 8 transient docks to your left. The ones in front, again, this is just residents, conceptuals giving you now. Nothing's in concrete. You need your engineers to move forward with this. So going to the next one, so as you can see, we're utilizing this land for the benefits of our residents here in this community, and we're keeping it in the family. You can see this was done in Bradenton, these beautiful floating docks. They're celebrating. I look forward to that one day. You see the families get out. A covered pavilion on that park where you could have a meeting place over there. There's just so much. But again, the applications are due. Colleague, you know what to do here. You've got until the 26th of May to have a couple of public hearings and lay it out. Oh, one thing I didn't show you here. Let's see if it's marked up. Forgot, most important thing, the reason for all this is, you see the yellow? That's Commissioner Colati's revamp, his shoreline. Fixing, replacement, rebatement. That's the yellow, what they would do. They will address this in there. So they said there's no problem where you're going to put that into the second part of your proposal. There's no problem in putting these docks, your concept, and see then what everybody else wants to bring. But it's better to ask for a lot more and go at it for one time. And then, in closing, this guy helped me word this tonight. And I said, Jim, will you help me word that? It says, the city's leadership has a duty to provide enhanced public access to recreational facilities for all members of our city. Providing for safe, accessible recreational facilities enhances the opportunities for both the enhanced economic of our city, for advancing the physical and mental health of our residents through enhanced recreational communities. The city's leadership has an opportunity now to enhance the recreational value and use one of its largest parcels of currently owned city property where their boat ramp is on the North Causeway. As your commissioner, I propose that we kick this thing off by including it this way, letting Khalid and his staff work with their engineers for public input to see if this is the direction we want to go down the road. By repairing the existing facilities, we're not going to mess that up, Commissioner Hartman. I've been assured that. Khalid, you've been assured too, right? So we're all on the same page. In closing tonight, thank you for bringing up that shore rebatement. You were so important. When I walked out of here, I was so discouraged because I didn't want to wait another year, because just to do that right there is going to take 2 to 3 years, just to do that right there. So if we wait another year, it's 4 years. So we don't ever know what's going to happen. I just don't want to see that piece of land be sold to developers and see an 8-story condominium, and then they'll really put their docks in there. So let's keep this in our New Smyrna Beach family perpetually, please. Thank you. If I ever can do anything for you, I'm there. We had a great meeting in Port of St. Lucie. They bragged on our community in November when they were up here. Each commissioner gives an outreach when we have our meetings every month in their city or in their county. Any questions?
All right. We'll just come down the line if that's all right with you all. We'll just start down at the end with Commissioner Colati.
I really don't have any questions because I did meet out at the site with our fine commissioner. There are some things on here that may go a little too far, but what we're applying for is a design grant, not construction. So they will look and see if the water depths, the location, inland waterway, so on and so forth, could be done. I like the idea of the fire and police boat out there on the dock. We need public input on whether we want to have rentable dock space out there, but that can be determined by the public. The connection of the existing fishing pier and the where the finger piers are now over by the boat launch ramp is a good idea and is viable. I would like to see that studied. Shoreline protection, I don't want to mislead anybody. It is a stable shoreline. It's just piles of rubble. But we should look to stabilize it with vegetation to aid for the water quality and the enjoyment of the site. I support filing the grant that was prepared by our staff now. I support an authorization to come up with a cost estimate for some of the improvements proposed here, with the goal that this revised project be submitted for design also by the end of May. So, as the commission knows, and most of the public, this site, I think, is very important to us. I believe that it's preserved as it is, but one additional step to preserve it farther will certainly not hurt anything. It's very visible as you go past on the water, as I happen to do today, or down North Causeway, and it can be as important to our community as the Riverside Park is. A good focal point, a good step forward. So I fully support that. I'm sure our manager will tell us the proper way to do that, but I'm for it. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Sachs.
Buddy, thank you for your presentation. I appreciate all you're willing to do for the city. I have a few questions and concerns. On the east boat ramp, I haven't been there in a while. I noticed that they are not in green, the actual piers that extend out from the ramps. Are they currently floating piers? Do you know?
I didn't hear you. They're currently what?
The piers that are
No, they're
on
not
the
floating.
east side.
No, the yellow ones here are fixed, except the one where your boat backs in the water. That's just an extension of your current one. It's not long enough. It needs to be
Gotcha.
longer. But the other ones are fixed, Commissioner.
Yes.
They're proposing floating, correct? So they're not as dangerous, because when the tide goes out, these children and people are jumping through. You brought it up, Commissioner Colati, and so did you, Commissioner Hartman. So those are not floating right now.
I strongly support that.
And it's not hard to get that permit changed.
Long before any of these discussions started on the AOB, I had conversations with Chad Truxell from the Marine Discovery Center. I have two concerns. One, I'm hoping on possible help from FIND in not only stabilizing that shoreline, but creating a living shoreline. You probably know what I mean. And
That's very doable, too.
Okay.
That's what your engineer would get with your city, and that comes into what you're saying now with your public plant at your workshops.
Great. Very good.
Commissioner Sachs, I just want to, the Marine Discovery Center, Chad has been involved with our staff. And just keep in mind that it's the funding for the design. So the design will have to come back to you before we move forward. But that will be designed according to the standard, whatever we get from the Marine Discovery Center. So the livable shoreline restoration will be most likely used.
Good. I do have concerns. This past weekend, I rode my bike by. My wife and I like to ride the loop. And so we saw the parking lot full, as it always is with trucks, trailers, the boats are out. But people were returning, and this was later in the day. And that basin that is shared by the east and west ramp was full.
It's packed.
Packed. And dangerously so.
You should see when it starts raining real hard, Commissioner.
Right, sure. And I agree that I would possibly consider these proposed docks on the south side of what hopes to be either the AOB or a name of a park. But I wonder, are these just for people to queue up, or are these going to be rental spots?
Those would, in my opinion, what I would recommend the city is in the workshop, those are just for people that are coming in, they're getting caught in rain to buoy up there and get in line and not have to be out there circling and people bumping into each other. No, those,
Yes.
I wouldn't do those rentals, no, sir.
Yes, and hopefully people will be polite enough to each other to queue up somehow to
Right.
move onto their trailers. I do not see space for kayaks and stand-up paddle boards. Do we have anything proposed for that?
That's where the outreach comes in. I just did the big concept the best I could with what I had to work with.
Yes.
To kind of give you an idea and show you a picture.
Yes.
And that's where the engineers come into play.
We do have a
Okay.
kayak launching on our application, on the original application, on the west side of the property, where there's a launching there.
Okay,
This is the one that, the drawing that you see, this is what Buddy is proposing from his end,
yes,
correct?
Right.
yes.
This is just the addendum to put and see what you could work.
Thank you, buddy. No, it could work very well.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to really say that hasn't already been said. I think we should go forward with the project, with the grant, and this is a great parcel, as much property as we can keep in the city for the residents, especially with water access. This is exactly the kind of direction we should go with the property. My key is not to overbuild on it.
Exactly.
And from what I'm seeing right now, again, apply for it. Let's get the funding. We can tweak it a little bit once we have some public input, and I'm perfectly willing to go forward with the grant request. Thank you.
Yeah, I have nothing further to add either, except I would support this going forward, you know, as long as we don't lose what we already currently have in the works.
Go ahead, Colin.
Just kind of keep in mind the FIND grant, their 50% match. So, and that's a good thing. The other good thing about it is that we could use the parking funds for the improvement of this area, since we collect parking fees, so.
Okay. So I only have a couple of comments. First, thank you. Thank you for all your work you're doing with FIND, and for, you know, I hope we, you know, I know FIND is a great organization, and they're always fair, and that's good, because, you know, we don't always have the blessing of having someone from New Smyrna on the FIND commission, and yet we still have always had a great partnership with FIND. But certainly, while we do have this privilege of having you, I hope we're able to, you know, do as much as we can good for our community with your advocacy. So I appreciate that. Two things to keep an eye on, I think, in this, not for discussion or decision today, but just keep an eye on the ball. Number one is being very careful about not recreating some of the issues we have behind the Brandon Center now, where we have that floating dock that basically is always, you know, 3 or 4 John boats that are just tied up there forever, you know. So whatever we have to do, whatever provisions we have to put in place, I wouldn't want to see any of this space just become that, because that almost becomes, I become less comfortable as the general public to be there. It almost takes away from the beauty of the park, even from what it is now. So that'd be one way I feel like we could find ourselves, you know, worse off than we are today, is if we don't have some provision in that. So just keep our eye on that. And then number two, and this is, Vice Mayor brought it up last time, you know, I love the concept of shoreline restoration, love native vegetation, I love mangroves, but you can't see through mangroves. And I don't own waterfront property, so there's only so many places where I can take my family and enjoy seeing waterfront. And so I'd want to be careful as we restore this, that we're conscientious, because if you put in mangroves, they're protected. You can only do so much trimming and everything else. So I wouldn't want to see us vegetate that whole shoreline, and now all of a sudden my family's lost a spot where we can go and enjoy the view of the water. We obviously want to protect all the mangroves we have. I want to restore as many as possible, but I'm saying maybe that 50 or so feet of bank, we can do it in some other way besides something that's going to grow up and be protected, and then all of a sudden we've lost the view that we have there. So those are just two things to file away as we go through the design process. Again, not for today. So I support this. With that, I'll turn to Khaled. What do you, I heard a date of May 16th. So we have the March 28th by noon. We're going to submit what we have, and then we're going to file an amendment by May 16th. Is that your understanding? Is that what I heard
Yes,
correctly? If approved by the commission tonight.
Yeah. Tonight, you're approving the concept that Buddy has suggested, number one. Number two is we will submit our original application with the idea that there's two things needs to be done. One is we have to come up with the new resolution, and we have to have a public meeting.
Okay.
And then we have to get a proposal from our consultants for his proposal. So that's gonna be quick with public meeting and then being on the commission. And I think the date for the find is May 27th or May 28th.
It's May 26th, the deadline.
26th?
Let me just look here.
So it's gonna be on a fast track, so
May 16th, and I have talked.
May 16th is the
I have
deadline?
talked to your engineers, and they've assured me they could meet. I mean, I didn't want to cross boundaries.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hire them, but they wouldn't.
So hang on. The issue is getting the public meeting scheduled and having enough time
Right.
to do readings and all those kind of things. So,
And then we already have a consultant that was on the first application that we did. So we probably have to go back to that consultant, get a new proposal from him for his proposal, and then have the public meeting and have the new resolution, and by May 16th. So it's a pretty tight schedule, but we'll see what we can do.
all right, so Colin, what I believe, tell me if you see differently, we've already approved what's going to be submitted March 28th at noon. No action needed tonight. We had approved that at the last meeting.
That's right.
Okay. No action really needed tonight on this other. It's going to go through the process. You heard from each of us. I think there's broad consensus, if not 5-0, broad consensus to move forward with this. You got the support. So I think at this point we start that process, and the formal motions and voting will take place at those future meetings.
Let's give us the directions to move forward with that, and we'll do that.
Let me come
I
back.
get some clarity.
Hang on real quick. Let's let Commissioner Clody speak.
No,
Okay, go ahead.
I need clarity. Are you going, in your proposal, this proposal you're putting in before the 28th needs to include just a drawing and an idea of the Phase 2, what you're going to be doing coming up to May 16th? They need to know that.
Yeah. I did not talk to Janet myself. Our CIP manager did.
Okay.
And what I got from him, that she said to submit the original application and then come back, whatever, May 16th, May 27th, with the amended application. She did not say to submit the new concept. So we'll find out.
Mark told me to include that in there.
Hang on. I think we'll let you all figure that out.
Yeah.
Just between the two of you, each talk to find, make sure we nail that and we get it right. But it sounds like you got some stuff to work out. Commissioner Clody.
I just want to thank the commission for not reopening this, but continuing the discussion on this. It's such a valuable piece of land. I'm glad we're moving forward. I'm glad we're considering this revision to it, and we will set in place our plan for the future on it. Don't have to build it all at one time, but we'll know where we're going. And I thank Buddy for that help.
I'd like to thank everybody for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Call it, I'll work with you, do the best we can.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Buddy, I think they want you over here. Or Ron's going to come talk to you. He'll talk to you. Okay. Colin, we don't need any more action on that tonight, right? I think you got enough direction. Okay, thank you. Thank you all that came out for that item. We will not be offended if you step out. We all wish we could as well, but we got some more business to do. 7B, consider request for code enforcement lien amnesty for 2995 Hardy Avenue. I think we have Barb here for a report. Good evening.
Good evening. So this is for a lien amnesty request for 2995 Hardy Avenue. Nick Schultz is here to represent the property owner. The property was bought by Dave Linson, and this was just recently purchased. The property was previously owned by Brian Mastriana, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And this was initiated by a complaint to code enforcement regarding the yard was full of construction debris. They had ripped out the kitchen and bathroom. They also had someone living in a camper and some other violations on the property. It did go to two special magistrate hearings. At the second hearing, a fine of $100 per day was imposed, commencing on November 15th, 2018. The property was recently purchased on 2/9/2022, and the property owner did contact me to find out, the new property owner contacted me to see what they needed to do to bring the property into compliance to be able to stop the fine. He had the contractor, Nick, contact me. They allowed me to go onto the property and do a site visit so I could get into the property to see how much had been torn out of the kitchen and the bathroom. And basically at that time, everything was in compliance except for needing the permit for the construction that was previously started. Since that time, Nick has come in, he's pulled a permit for the kitchen and bath, and then several other renovations that they're going to do to the property. The permit that they pulled for that property is, the value of the renovation is over $85,000. The property was in violation for a total of 1,188 days. And when the permit was submitted is when we stopped the fine, which was on 2/15/2022. So at this time, the permits have been pulled, the work has been started. So in speaking with Nick, he's basically representing the property owner at this time. I had recommended a $10,000 fine in my staff report, or I'm sorry, $10,000 to cover the cost for the city. And I had a conversation with Nick this morning. He called to see just what was expected at the commission meeting. And I just told him that what my recommendation was. He actually stated that that was basically what the recommendation from the property owner. They were going to offer the city $10,000 to settle the fine. So my recommendation is to accept the $10,000 and give 10 working days to pay the fine, to pay the amount.
Okay. Comments from the commission. We'll just come down. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to go back to the time period that existed from 11/18 to 2/22. I hope our staff is looking at some type of procedure where not just forgetting about it after a magistrate has issued a penalty, but somehow trying to nudge them along to comply. The total amount of fine, because we have things set up, is really high, especially when our goal is to get properties back in line. And if there was more of an incentive for them to settle a little quicker, I wish we could come up with a way to do that. I'm more than happy to accept the $10,000 as full satisfaction.
And there is something in the works, and this $10,000 is in line with some of the capping on what we're recommending in the future changes for the code enforcement ordinances and the lien amnesties. And we're also kind of looking at maybe a step process to give them some incentive. If your compliance date is this, if you comply within 30 days, and you'll get, just some kind of incentive built into it to make them want to comply instead of just letting it hang out there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad to see that you set the 10-day working day limit on there. It was something I had wanted all along, and it seems that it's been helping collect the money other than just collecting paperwork. So,
Yes, it has helped.
very good.
Mr. Sachs.
Oh, I'm not so much comfortable with it as Commissioner Colodi. We have staff, we have a board. They make their recommendations. Sometimes, usually it goes to magistrate. Yes, the liens and fines are exorbitant. I think we should perhaps look at caps, not at $10,000. I think the buyers should do their due diligence. The realtors and the brokers that are involved in these transactions should also do their due diligence. I believe they do know, some of them, what these liens can amount to. And they also know that they can come to this commission to have them almost arbitrarily reduced. And I appreciate the fact, Barb, that you come up with $10,000, but did I hear you say that was at the behest of the applicant, or is that
No,
just?
I had that. I was part of my recommendation prior to talking to the applicant. I just spoke with him this morning, and he was asking me, I told him that I would make recommendations to the commission, and he asked if he could know what I was recommending. So I informed him of my recommendation, and he stated that they already had that figure in mind.
It's arbitrary that we have different liens come forward to us, and we always find a different way to get around reducing them. I think it does a disservice to the taxpayer who's responsibly paying his taxes, and we find that somebody's way in arrears, and it would take a very long time to make up that $118,000, quite a few years of paying back taxes to do that. And I can't, if we come together and decide that we want to do a cap, that's another story, but I can't see reducing this lien.
Vice Mayor.
So what the goal of this is history shows that you have a property owner, lousy property owner creates a problem. Property gets sold, new person buys it, wants to fix it up, have the property as an asset to the community, hires a good reputable builder in town, and gets those permits put in and wants to start construction as soon as possible, right?
Correct.
And we have a general agreement on what the applicant and code enforcement would see as a reasonable settlement for the fees. So my opinion is, I'm not sure we can have a better situation, and as soon as you want a motion, Mayor, I'll be happy to make it.
Okay. Any comments?
I totally support Barb on this because I know her and her staff work hard on these issues, and anytime that they take a piece of property off of the lien list, I know they're happy about that. It's one less that they have to worry about going forward. My only concern is instead of 10 working days, they'd be 10 business days. If the city is open and it's a business day, then we count 10 business days as opposed to working days. Some people could argue, oh, well, I have to work on Saturday and Sunday. Is that a working day? So it's just a thing with me. So I'm happy with whatever it is, but unless the city attorney doesn't have any problem with business days, I would prefer that language.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any issues with this. Again, most of these situations we see resolved with new ownership. So to my colleague's point, yes, it is known sometimes that someone can see a property like this that is derelict in our community, and they may buy it knowing that there's a chance that the commission would help them. And I guess I'm okay with that. That's a behavior I want to incentivize, is someone buying a derelict property that has been set in that condition for 1,000-something days, was reported, from 2/9 to 2/15. Those are the 2 dates I heard, from February 9th to February 15th. That's how long it took for the new property owner to clean up 1,000-something days worth of dereliction.
Correct.
So if we had every neighbor from around that property in here right now, I don't think they care about the $100,000 that would never, ever, ever, ever be collected on this property. They care about the fact that now they have a nice neighbor and a nice property next door to them, and their property value is no longer drugged down by this derelict property next to them. So the system is what it is. To me, the system's a bit broken. We've been through this debate before. I don't want to have it again tonight. Our arms are pretty tied with, we can't go in and just kick people out of properties for them being derelict, especially if they're homesteaded. So I'm okay sending a message out to the investment community if you want to come in and within a matter of, 6 working days or business days or just calendar days, whatever you want to call them, clean up derelict properties in our city. I'll help you out with that. I fully support that. And I think our code enforcement supports that as well, as manifested by the staff recommendation. So do I have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve $10,000 for the fine and to have 10 business days for payment.
Second.
City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Sacks?
No.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, item 7C. It's all right, you can clap. She's just clapping because she gets to go home now. She said her own. Yeah. Item 7C, I think this is your item as well, Barb.
Okay, so this lien amnesty is for a partial release of lien. And Rachel Hutcherson, she's requesting a partial release of lien on a property. She purchased a property at 299 Washington Place in Ormond Beach. And the previous property owner was Tarpon 4 LLC, which you all are familiar with that name, I'm sure. And she has purchased a property for around $3,700. She is here this evening as well. And she's been in contact with me throughout this process. She's asking that our lien that is attached to her property in Ormond Beach to be a partial release of lien. Our property is located at 545 Charlevoix, and as I stated, the previous property owner was Tarpon 4 LLC. The current city lien attached to this property is $20,950. So she is just looking for a partial release of lien, which what this will do, the lien will not go away on the property in the city of New Smyrna. Basically, we will just file a partial release that will release it from her property in Ormond Beach. My recommendation is to do the partial release of lien from the property at 299 Washington Place, Ormond Beach, for a fee of $1,000 to cover the city cost, and give 10, I'll change it to business days, to pay the amount in full if the commission agrees with it. She is here this evening. She kind of asked me the same thing about what do I present to the commission, and I believe she's in agreement, but she is here if you would have any questions for her.
Thank you. So, gentlemen, we've seen a lot of these before. I think this is the 4th or 5th one of these. Carrie's explained it in depth in past meetings. Tarpon owned properties all over the county. They went belly up as these properties are sold off. We're not impacting the liens on the properties in New Smyrna. But basically, again, investments coming in. Hopefully someone eventually buys the ones in New Smyrna, and then we'll go through the process there. But for now, we're just dealing with these properties that are elsewhere. Commissioner Clow, did you have a comment, or are you making a motion?
The other property that's tied into it, the New Smyrna property, does that have any violations on it now?
There's currently, we are getting ready. I believe this is one that's on our nuisance abatement list that we just put together last week. We have been there's recently been some contact made with the city from, I'm not sure if they're Tarpon or a portion of Tarpon, formerly Tarpon, but Cindy has recently put some letters together, mailed them out to some of the people with outstanding liens on the properties and giving them an idea of where their liens are approximately at. And they did actually accept this mail, which is unusual, and they did make contact with Cindy, so they are aware that they need to come in and clean up their properties because we're ready to go out and mow the properties again, and more liens will be attached to their property. So we've put them on notice with certified mail, but we also have emailed 2 different representatives so they know that their future violations need to be taken care of immediately. So they do still have properties here. We still check them. Currently, there's a violation there, yes. The only good thing is we've had contact this time, which is the first time in probably 10 years.
Okay. But there are other lien holders also on that property?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion on item 7C.
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
No.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
That item passes. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your work. Item 7D, I think we have Chris here to give a presentation on this. This is related to economic development and a new ordinance. Chris.
No, it's just a discussion.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. I'll be brief. I do have, from the last commission meeting, I think it was discussed, Mayor and Commissioners, that there were some questions regarding the commercial space industry opportunity overlay. Tonight, I just want to take the time to briefly overview exactly what that is. I think there's general consensus of what the idea is regarding this, but just to highlight just a couple things. Basically, the intent of the CSIOO is to act as an incentive for aerospace-centered development, and that's aviation aerospace, which we are currently a regional player in with the cities of Edgewater and Oak Hill. I know Volusia County has also taken an initiative in that area to start the process of an overlay with the goal of really trying to lay a framework or guidance, if you will, for aviation aerospace type development. Obviously, one of our primary locations that we currently have proposed for the CISOO is in all of our cities' industrial zones. That includes the airport. As you recently approved the land lease development opportunity at the airport. That would be an example of a project that the CISOO would be relevant to. And this is just a map. I'm sorry it's not the greatest visual, but this gives you an idea of all of the city's industrial zone categories from I-1, I-2, and I-3. Those are the proposed industrial zones. Actually, we had this conversation with previous staff, even with our former assistant city manager, Brian Fields, and we talked about specific areas in the city that might actually work for this particular overlay, and industrial zones seem to be the right fit. We have a short window here of trying to move it forward in the sense of future land use and adding it as a goal 9. I think there was a question regarding the housing. The last time, I believe, Commissioner Colodi, to your point of affordable housing, the affordable housing aspect was really just to highlight or encourage housing to be in proximity to the overlay in the sense of promoting workforce housing, which we're currently doing within the CRA, which a lot of these properties are actually in the CRA's district. The I-3, some of the I-1, along with I-2 are all in the CRA. So we're kind of moving toward that direction with the Green Lawn Manor development as well as other affordable housing projects that we're funding right now. So that's one aspect of it. But I'm standing open to the floor now to ask any questions that there might be additional to this particular overlay. Yes, sir.
I can always ask a question. I think this, and I realize you're piggybacking it on what the other towns have done, what the county's done. To me, it's too broad and has too many sections that raise red flags to me. Like saying it would have to be a PUD, yet we don't have any size restrictions. I'd hate to turn a quarter-acre industrial tract into a PUD. It says it can be used in any commercial, public, or semi-public or industrial zone. I really don't think the citizens of this town would like to see public lands turned into private aerospace industries. I like the concept of promoting the space. I've been trying to do that ever since I was on the Economic Development Council, long before I was a commissioner. But I just, to me, these are just words and don't give us anything really as productive proof to move forward. I would much rather see in our various industrial and commercial zones that we do something in those zones themselves to promote the space industry. It's just, it's too broad for me.
So Commissioner, let me see if I can make sure I understand what you're saying. So would you prefer that the PUD language be extracted from the current policy and objectives, or just?
See, I foresee problems. Like if you're going to take a piece out in the perimeter where there's no public transportation, and somebody comes in, they want to build satellites or whatever, they want to build components, and then they're going to say, well, we got some nice residential land next to it, let's put affordable housing here, because it says in your guidance that that's what we're supposed to do. And I think we got to be more specific, and we got to look into it more. It's an idea to promote the space. Fully support that. There's some big tracts of land that I wish could have been used for that, but who knows? There's tracts of land west on 44 that are not zoned. Maybe when we do our analysis of our comprehensive plan and our zoning, we want to include something like that out there. And it's a great idea, but I don't think this is the way to go about doing it. That's my own opinion of it.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Chris, I appreciate what you're trying to do here. I also, it's been a long time, even before becoming an elected, was watching the space industry. They were making moves that I thought were very distasteful, going into the national park with launch pads and all kinds of ancillary areas that were toxic and dangerous and explosive. Although I would love to attract light, clean aerospace industry to our city, you have to be very picky. And you have to decide the right places to put them, if they even want to come here. It seems they've been avoiding us, kind of hopscotching down to Melbourne and working out of there. But if you can make something work on the order of Commissioner Colodey's thoughts, I would be interested in taking a look at it, if anybody would even want to come here and work in that industry, in that field. Because I know, you release some of these dangerous ethyl methyl bads things into the watershed, then we've got bigger problems. So we have to be careful. I thought in your predecessor, Tony Otti, we had spoken about the airport area for aerospace and avionics. I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure about the other areas. I think it would take much further discussion. I'm very happy we're getting a hospital. That'll bring more professional jobs, but I'm still open to looking at the aerospace industry coming to our city carefully, if you can. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the item. I'm going to come at you with a slightly different perspective, may not be on exact topic. I know of a few people who have tried to get some business started in the industrial area, and the tree mitigation was so expensive that I found it ironic that both people who didn't know each other told me about the same problem. So they just moved on and didn't deal with it. So ironically, we talk about the importance of trees. We love trees. So my question is, if we have local business people that want to create businesses, and we have created a barrier for them, and yet we're saying we need business in there, we need to find a way to kind of create a connection to that disconnect. I want to be careful with the heavy industrial zoning. Obviously, we have a situation where we have a old industrial site next to old residential. Want to make sure that whatever happens in here is compatible and not a nuisance. So I think as we go down this road, we need to make sure we're very clear and very specific about what we do want and what we think will work. Industrial, we all want part of the new resurgence of the space program. We don't necessarily want to be testing rocket engines. So let's just be very careful how we create this and what we allow in. And, follow up with me if you want on that tree mitigation issue. Some of these properties are extensively wooded. So we have a little bit of, we have both a tree issue and then a cost issue of mitigating the trees. And I would hate to see a small business person or a local person lose out to bring someone in who would do essentially possibly the same thing. Thank you, Chris.
So, Chris, I know there's a time restraint on this item. Is that correct?
Well, we would like to move it forward, mainly because of the reason that we are actively pursuing those industries now. We were trying to be consistent with the regional appeal of the area. As you recall from our Economic Development Strategic Plan workshop, there was a call for us to do diversification of our tax base. And this is one way that we feel, based on our proximity to the Space Coast, this would be a great opportunity for us in that sense, because we never know when that opportunity may come, especially with our partnership with Team Volusia and the leads that they generate and get on a regular basis that are coming to this area and to this county. We want to position ourselves for the opportunity to participate in that and not miss out because maybe we don't have a certain tool that other communities around us do have. So that's the timeline, so to speak.
And this overlay is only going to apply to the industrial zoning
Yes, sir.
areas?
Yes, sir.
Which
no other zoning categories.
Two of those are, one is the UC and one is our boat ramp. So I don't see them going anywhere. So it does come with staff recommendations, so I would support this.
Thank you, sir.
Chris, a quick question for you. If you take someone, I'm not trying to give any private business a plug, but there's not anything that would help them and hurt them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So you take an industry like, or a business like Germ Free, who we know Kevin sits as the CEO. He also sits on our Economic Development Advisory. Extremely clean, not space related, could be, but it's clean laboratories. On the map you have in front of you, where could an operation like that set up in New Smyrna Beach? What color am I looking at that they could set up in New Smyrna Beach?
Well, Mayor, that's a great question. They could set up anywhere that industrial or zoning, based on the size of the building and the facility and what they're proposing to do, that would be an industrial zone project. This would not exclude, per se, that type of opportunity.
I'm just saying right now they could be in the I-1, 2, or 3, basically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But nowhere else.
I'm sorry?
But nowhere else.
No. I would say so that we possibly could explore that, but as of right now, these are the areas that we have currently zoned that would allow the autonomy, I think, of a company of that size.
Yeah. I guess the point I was driving at, to me, the eye-opening, so it's kind of like Commissioner McGurk, it's a little bit bigger, sorry, Vice Mayor McGurk, it's a little bit bigger to me than just what we have in front of us today, which I'm with Commissioner Hartman. I would like to see us push forward with this. We're trying to take this regional approach. We've got staff recommendation. We've been at this for a while. But bigger picture, we hear about diversifying revenue. We highlight that our tax base is, 80, I forget the number, 80-something% residential, roughly 10% commercial. And yet, this is what it looks like. And if you take out the airport, which is, a big chunk of that, and you take out the UC property and the boat ramp, as Commissioner Hartman accurately pointed out, you're really not left with a whole lot of where we could, diversify our tax revenue. I will say, and it's no fault really of almost anyone in this room that I know of, our zoning, the way this was kind of laid out and mapped out, it's residential heavy. I mean, we were built as a residential community first and foremost, and our zoning leaves quite a bit to be desired. We have residential tucked right up next to heavy industrial. We're dealing with an issue over in the neighborhood with the concrete crushing. We have heavy industrial abutted right next to residential. I mean, that's like, Derek, that's, probably the first class in your planning, when you went to college, they taught you just never do that, right? And yet here we have it right here in our backyard. So we have some considerable issues. So I guess my challenge to you all is, I don't want to make those worse, all right? So I don't know this, I don't believe this does that. But I guess what I'm challenging you all is to help make sure for us that we can't, live and breathe this document like you can. I don't want to make that problem worse, but I do want to make sure we have opportunities and we pave the path a little bit, not for launch operations. Somebody's launching rockets out of New Smyrna Beach during my lifetime, all right? But if we could attract some industries like germ-free, where you could drive by that building and on the outside it could look like a Chick-fil-A, or whatever. It could look like this building for that matter. And then inside it, you have six-figure jobs, nice white collar, blue collar, even all collars, some fantastic job opportunities. And I know that, again, that's not a space-related industry, but that's just one that I've identified with, mainly because of my connection with Kevin. So I want to see us moving in that direction. So if you're telling me that this is helpful not only for us, but as a region, because I also believe, I subscribe to the theory that if it comes to Edgewater, that's a win for us. I don't think that we have to win, and everyone else lose. If it comes to the region, that's good for me. That's good for us. It's good for our city. It's good for my kids when they look for a job. I'd rather them drive to Edgewater than Ormond. And I'd rather them drive to Ormond than Orlando, frankly. So, Tony, if you're telling me this gets us closer to that, I can support this tonight, and then we can continue to chip away at it. I don't think this is, are we looking for like a formal motion? This is just discussion item today because it wasn't under readings.
Yeah, it was formally continued to the next meeting. This was just a discussion item to give direction on the changes.
So I guess what I heard today was there's at least two of us are kind of supporting it as is. So I don't want to keep going tonight for time's sake, but it sounded like Commissioner Colodi still had some concerns, maybe Commissioner Sachs, and perhaps Commissioner McGurk. Okay, you're good. You just want to address some other stuff. Yeah. All right, so it sounds like you've got three of us that could support it. I'd encourage you to try to talk later to the two of them, see if you can fold in. I certainly respect Commissioner Colodi and Commissioner Sachs' view, so if we can fold in some of that feedback. But I don't want to see this stall, and we look up 20 years from now, we're still having the same debate, and we haven't actually made any progress. Colin.
And I think it's, Mayor, I think we could go back and do some cleanup on this here. I think bring it back to you. I think it's workable documents.
Okay. But it is coming back to us for first reading or second reading?
First reading.
First reading at our next meeting. Yeah.
First reading, it'll go to the state, and then we'll have a public hearing once we hear back from them.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Commissioner.
All right, next item, 8A, we have some second readings and public hearings. The first one is related to the ISBA ordinance 5221. City Attorney.
Ordinance number 5221, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach adopting the amended and restated interlocal service boundary agreement between Smyrna Beach, Volusia, providing for ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, just a background on this. Obviously, this is the interlocal service boundary agreement between the Volusia County and the city. And basically, it's a coordination agreement between both parties on matters that is an interest in terms of such as annexation, permitting, and so forth. Staff has been working on this for quite some time. It's almost over 2.5 years with Volusia County. I think what you have before you tonight, it's a fairly good document from a staff standpoint. There is some minor changes in it. But the main point is that I want to bring up is Saxon Drive. Saxon Drive will become a city service maintained road. Obviously, it should have been some time back. The county has been maintaining it. So any road that is not a thoroughfare road will be maintained by the city. However, from the discussion and with the county, we were able to include two cities, even though they're not thoroughfare, but the county will maintain them, Williams Road and also Glencoe. There is a little portion of Glencoe that it's under the city because of the annexation, over 51%, but the rest of it will be maintained by Volusia County. The index on transferring the roads, when it's over 51%, it stays 65 or better. I think in the previous document it says with the agreement of the city and the county, they that one out. I don't think it's a problem because the consultant who's doing it is our consultant, so that shouldn't be an issue there. I think Commissioner Hartman this afternoon, he pointed out one street that it's supposed to be county maintained, but it doesn't show on the map. I will confirm that tomorrow just to make sure. But staff recommends approval of this ISBA so we could move forward and get that going out of the way. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public here for this item, this ISBA item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 5221?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Gallardi?
Well, it isn't everything that I would like to see in it, but I know that our staff has really worked hard to get it to the best condition that both agencies would approve it, so I will support it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
But staff also worked hard to put language in there that gives us some protection, and they just struck it out for no reason, so I'm not supporting it for that reason.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yeah, I haven't figured out yet if I'm supporting it or not, if I'm honest. I support staff, and I don't want to jeopardize the relationship we have with the county because I think overall we share a positive working relationship, and I recognize that the two elected bodies rarely interact, but staff interacts on a daily basis. Beach patrols there for us during spring break. Colin and the county staff work together routinely. So for that purpose, I'm leaning towards supporting, but I have made it very clear to staff, and I think that feedback's gotten passed along, and I'll say it publicly here. I'm not exactly happy with where we landed, and I don't always feel like, I think we gave, and I don't know if we ever took, and I'm not saying we always have to take, but I think we were coming to the table and usually we walked away with, accepting whatever the larger party put on the table. So it rubs me a little bit the wrong way. So that's kind of.
Mr. Mayor?
That's all I am first. Good.
I don't disagree with what you said. I would love to be able to roll up my sleeves and put my 2 cents in and see if I can negotiate this thing and maybe butt heads with them the way staff needs to keep more of a professional rapport with them. But we've been at this a long time, and the reason I'm going to support it is because we've put a lot of time into it. There's a lot of back and forth. These things have been created. These things have been changed. They'll be changed again. This is not a finite document. There will be further negotiations. So I think in the best interest of moving forward and taking what we can get and coming to some kind of agreement is what I believe is important at this time. I think a lot of time and staff time has been put into it, and we all have our personal opinions on how to negotiate or what we think we should negotiate. But like I said, this is not the end of it. Will be a lot of issues. And I think a lot of us on this dais share can still be discussed, negotiated, and talked about with the county. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a bit intrigued by Commissioner Hartman's statement, and I wonder, are you at leisure to allude as to what reservations you might have? I'm just curious if you care to share.
Well, I think that the language where the county and the city agreed to an index, I think that was important for us, certainly. It gave us a chance to disagree with, the third party. I think we talked before about extending the annexation zone further south, down along South Beach, which is important to us, I think, for both the septic to sewer and providing fire and police in that area, public safety issues. There are other issues within the county that we seem to butt heads about every now and then, and it's always their toy box and their toys. Saxton to me is a big thing. There's concerns about who owns parts of Saxton, whether it's truly a part of the platted right-of-ways, et cetera, et cetera. So until those issues are kind of worked out, we have a development going in that they've played a part to. I'm just not comfortable at this time without, there being some mutually respective interchanges between the two of us. I mean, we've asked for some minor changes that they initially agreed to and now have subsequently taken back out of the agreement. So, I have concerns. Especially we've got this huge donut hole now within the city, and and then the big piece of it at the end that you have to drive through miles of the city to get to, but it's still county property, and those people are wanting to annex and can't. Their hands are tied. So I think it's of a benefit to them, to have an option or have that decision to, whether or not they want to annex in and us, provide those services to them that they're currently may not be getting from the county. So.
Thanks for sharing. I share your concerns as well. I do think, frankly, the county does have the upper hand in this deal. And eventually it was going to come to fruition. I appreciate staff's hard work on it. I hope it's an okay deal for us, and perhaps we can go back to the table a little later on, but I was inclined to settle for this ISBA agreement, so I've got about 10 seconds to consider or reconsider.
To figure it out.
Thanks for sharing that.
Let me ask a few questions here, and then we haven't had a motion yet. So, Khalid, I do see a termination clause in here, which is a bit extreme. Just play out with me a couple scenarios. If the commission doesn't accept this tonight, what happens then? And then if the commission does accept it, but we wanted to, for lack of a better term, reopen, what would be the process for that, and is that where would that be contemplated in the language? So two different scenarios: we reject it or we accept it, but then we come back and say, hey, we want to push a little harder on some of these issues.
If the commission rejected tonight, then we have to notify them. I think we have, Carrie, do we have 60 days, I think?
Well, if this is rejected, we're still operating under the original ISBA. Then the question is, do we want to keep operating under the old ISBA, or do we want to give notice of termination, or see if they will
Right.
come back together with us and see if there's
Okay.
a different agreement?
So we wouldn't necessarily, it's not like anything would change basically from today, but we would just stay operating under the old ISBA. We could continue to try to debate this, because there are some positives. I mean, I think there's universal agreement, at least I think, on some of the positives that we're getting accomplished in this ISBA, such as, they're taking back over, their permitting and some of those things, which, by the way, for clarity, because I had some people ask me about this, we're not lowering our standards. We have always been enforcing their standards within our city. It's just been our staff having to do it. So they had to basically figure out two sets of books and say, okay, is this county? Let me flip through this. Is this city? Let me flip through this, which is extremely tedious for our staff and time consuming. So I think that's a net positive move to say, no, if it's your property, you go talk to the county, let them interpret their code, not let that fall to us. So we wouldn't get any of those benefits, but we could continue to negotiate this in theory if the county came back to the table. If we accept it and then wanted to say we accepted it, but you heard there was a lot of reservation, could we continue to debate some of these things and possibly reopen the contract? What would be the provisions, Carrie, that might give us some options to do that?
So under this amendment, there is no formal reopening ability, so they could just say, tough luck, you're in this for 5 years unless you terminate. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but there's no guarantee that they would just say, no, we're not going to come back to the table in 6 months, or, we're going to operate under this.
Got it. Okay.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Does anyone know the fiscal impact to the city with this ISBA?
I didn't hear the question.
The physical impact of this change.
The physical impacts obviously would be the resurfacing of the roads. So any that is not the thoroughfare road right now, that it's county, that would be a city. So let's take, for example, Wayne Avenue. Wayne Avenue from US 1 to Halleck, right now it's county. That's not a thoroughfare. So that would be a city-maintained road. So you're adding resurfacing roads into the list that we have. And that was one of my major concerns on Saxon and other streets. However, they have resurfaced some of these streets that actually it's going to be turned over to us. They were supposed, that's why we put the index in the agreement, that it's supposed to be 65 or higher. That's the standard we use right now on our resurfacing. So if it's 65, if it's below 65, then it's eligible for resurfacing at some year. So that would be the impact that we have.
The fiscal
Now, on return, what the mayor mentioned, that we will stop providing the service in terms of permitting and in terms of code enforcement and so forth, other services that the county provide for the unincorporated area within the ISBA.
All right. Gentlemen, do I have a motion on item 8A?
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second already on this item.
Oh, did we make a motion?
Yes, Vice
Okay.
Mayor made the motion and Commissioner Sacks seconded it.
Gotcha. You're right. My apologies.
Before you vote, if I could just, before you vote, if you just give me a minute, I'm looking at the original because I want to make sure that Saxon isn't going to be transferred regardless.
Okay.
So just.
Sure. Yeah, that's right, because we started as just a really quick discussion and then, it kind of built from there. Thank you for that reminder, Kelly.
Been a long night.
Was
And
that?
Mayor,
Been a
just
long night.
It has been. It's been a long week.
one more thing,
Yes.
that this has to go to the county council, for the county council to consider and approve before it gets effective. So I just want to make sure that it's not going to be effective tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it still has to
So-
go to the county council, and then most likely we'll pick a date after that.
So this is the one provision that I'm concerned with, kind of impacts your decision-making. Under the current language, county thoroughfare roadways, which currently they have Saxon as a thoroughfare, right? That are removed from their comprehensive plan, which is what they've done, are subject to transfer to the city per the terms of this agreement in Section 8B. So it's the 51%. So then the question becomes, along Saxon, are we more than 51%? Yeah? Yeah. So even under, so let's say we don't adopt this, we're still going to end up with Saxon.
Per the original agreement.
It's all city properties along Saxon.
Yeah.
In that section anyway. So.
Quick question.
Sure.
Carrie, you said that Saxon was a thoroughfare deemed by county. I was under the assumption that it's a local road.
They're in the process of amending their comprehensive plan. They may have already adopted it. It was kind of one of those moving parts where they changed it from a thoroughfare to a non-thoroughfare.
Which makes it a local road?
They changed it from thoroughfare to non-thoroughfare?
Correct? Am I saying that correctly? Yes. So they did that in their comprehensive plan.
I'm missing something. They changed it from thoroughfare to non-thoroughfare.
Saxon Drive.
So what that mean? We wouldn't have to adopt it or take it?
So county thoroughfare roadways that are removed from the county comprehensive plan through thoroughfare roadway network are subject to transfer to the city, and then it goes through how they transfer the non-thoroughfare roads. It talks about the 51%.
But you just said thoroughfare road. And they just made it a non-thoroughfare road.
Yes, so they're going from thoroughfare to non-thoroughfare. And so what this paragraph says is if we have a thoroughfare road that changes to a non-thoroughfare through our comprehensive plan, it's now subject to transfer to the city.
I got you. The non-thoroughfares are subject to transfer, not thoroughfares. Okay.
And you have the map, Mayor, you have the map attached to
There's-
the agenda, so you could see the
So they
list
have
of
all the
roads
power
there.
yet, again, to basically just deem something non-thoroughfare. Yes. that's right.
So, Carrie, when does the original agreement expire?
We had this opener at the 5-year mark, which is not provided for in this amendment, which is kind of getting to what Russ mentioned with the, could we come back and negotiate? But it's a 10-year term with the option to renew. Term of the agreement, I'm in the original, it's 5 years, and then it says, in the event the parties desire to extend the term of the agreement, initiate negotiations in accordance with 171 no later than 18 months prior to the termination of the term. And then it has the same termination provisions. So 5 years from, this was adopted in 13 or 14, let me look at the date. 13? So if we stop negotiations and give them the notice, then we could be done with the ISBA altogether.
Which has a ton of other impacts though, right?
Right.
I mean, that's mutual aid. Doesn't that impact things like mutual aid even?
There's a fire component,
Yeah,
there's a
that's
garbage
That's a
component.
pretty huge
Yeah.
decision to make, and that's not where I'm wanting to go. That's not the ultimatum I'm giving. So, all right. We had a motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman.
No.
Mayor Owen.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't have minded paying 32 the other way.
Yeah, I don't know. Worked out how it worked out. All right. 5221 is adopted. 8B, ordinance 122, second reading, but on the parking waiver, this is one that we're going to look for an extension. Carrie needs to read the title, though.
Ordinance number 122, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 50402, specific regulations by district, to revise the parking requirements in the Arts Overlay District, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. I was under the understanding that you guys were asking for a continuance because Bob's on vacation.
No, that's why I'm here.
Well, the problem is we announced at the beginning of the meeting, so I think now in good faith, we should probably continue.
Yeah, we need to continue this item to April, we're in April 12th.
Okay.
Sorry, Jeff. I don't know how that happened. But
I have an email that says you guys are requesting a continuance to April 12th because he's on vacation and this is his item. I'll forward it back to you.
All right, we'll
But we
figure
need to
that
vote
out.
on that continuance.
Yeah. Sorry you came out though, but again, just in case anybody's here for it, we announced at the beginning we're going to continue it, so I wouldn't want to do that. That seemed a little sketchy. So, do I have a motion to continue this item to April 12th?
So move.
Second.
Everybody second. Pick one.
Who was the second?
Everybody. Simultaneously. We'll take Commissioner Sacks. He's closest to me. Kelly, call the roll.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yeah, no, this is the vote.
voting now?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Coloni?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 8C, City Attorney will read this the second time.
Ordinance number 822, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach reapportioning the city's commission zones, providing for amendment of the appendix to the city charter to redefine the boundaries of the city commission zones, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. So this is the item that, based on our census data we received, we're required under our charter to redistribute the zones to make the populations within 5% of each other. You've seen these maps. We've had several public hearings on this. The only thing that has changed from first reading to the adoption is on the legal descriptions. We had to use the Volusia County tax parcels to list them out as what's included and what's not, what's excluded and what's included. And there's a piece that has a parcel, the same parcel number, but was divided up into 3 districts. There's nobody living on these parcels or sections of parcels. There's no homes. It doesn't affect the population. So we consolidated the one parcel number into the same district. So it went from orange, pink, and green to just all green. So, and with that, if there's anything Khalid wants to add or questions or public here to participate.
Yeah. And again, that was population 0 on that change.
Population 0.
So, all right, this is a quasi-judicial public hearing, and again, we've talked about this multiple, this is probably the 10th time we've talked about this, so, but does anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We've heard from the city attorney, we've heard from the public. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 8-22?
Move to. Go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Discussion.
Discussion, go ahead.
Well, I opposed the maps that originally came out repeatedly. I've had a lot of contact with people in what will be my former zone, and they said, I was concerned they'd lose their contacts, but they've all assured me they're going to call me anyhow. So that's it.
Jay, consider that a huge win.
Yeah, that's the best of both worlds.
They will call all of us if they need
I'll
to.
deal with them.
That's what I have found. They reach out to everyone, so, or they show up here, which is all fine. We encourage that. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Coloni?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I just want to call out, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
my only comment was, I thought Pam had an excellent idea, that maybe this should be, maybe Philip could come up with something about the whole rezoning process, how we got there, where we are, and where the new zones are, that sort of thing. I think the public participation part of that would be excellent. If Philip can come up with something, or, like a little mini-series, for the next month or something, just so everybody knows. And, make sure you look at the new map where you live. For some people, it's going to be a whole lot easier to figure out what zone they're in. So just going forward, I thought that was an excellent idea.
And something to briefly add to that. Great opportunity to keep pushing the understanding it's a citywide vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is probably the least understood. So
Yeah.
we can use this as an opportunity to keep furthering that education.
I think that was a good comment. I was going to say the same thing. I hope we do take this opportunity to do some more education. So that is good. The other thing I was going to say is I actually appreciate Commissioner Colodi. You know, we all know where you stand on this. We know your objections from the beginning, but you know, being able to recognize that, hey, having a unified front on this is important, so that it doesn't confuse the public that there was some huge controversy or anything with that. So I do appreciate that this was a 5-0. I think we've all been guilty of that at times in the past, but I try to do the same thing on occasion. That's if you made your stance known, sometimes you got to die on the stump, but sometimes you don't, and I appreciate it. So thank you. Item 8D, quasi-judicial public hearing for property located at 1701 State Road 44. Carrie.
This is not an ordinance. This is a quasi-judicial public hearing. Mr. Baker is here to present on staff's position. It's a special exception use for property located at 1701 State Road 44.
All right, we'll first hear from the city. Jeff.
Hello. The subject property is the former Volusia Motorsports, kind of where 44 and Canal Street come together, back up to Ross Lane, just east of Wells Fargo. They're going for a special exception to allow recreational vehicle sales. Now, the B3 zoning allows automobile sales, recreational vehicle sales, and trailer sales, new and used, including all vehicles with 2 wheels or more as a special exception. So we're talking anything from mopeds to Winnebagos have to go through the special exception process. What the applicant wants to sell basically is low-speed vehicles, golf carts on the site. Now, in 2019, there was a zoning text amendment which changed what was the permitted use of selling such vehicles to special exception. So we're here today basically to allow the site to go back to what was the permitted use for the first 12 years of its existence. The Planning and Zoning Board already considered this case. They recommended approval with a 5-0 vote to approve the special exception with 3 conditions. One, basically, there's a retention ponds on the east side and in the rear to the north. They have to restore their functionality. They did some land clearing back there, which kind of altered the slope, so they had to make sure that everything was restored as it should be to the engineering department's satisfaction. Took down the dumpster with some trees, so we got some replanting to do. They're adding some cypresses around the pond and back. And this was a Planning and Zoning Board recommendation. They basically asked the applicant if they would be interested in limiting the sale of recreational vehicles simply to these low-speed vehicles, no travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, those types of vehicles. They're already working on the first 2 of the conditions, and the third one, like I said, they've agreed to. Then I guess I suppose it's up for debate if you wanted, it's a recommendation from the planning board. We all feel on the staff that the criteria have been met, and we recommend approval with the conditions mentioned. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for staff for the presentation?
Quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, just the applicant, are they okay with the third request from the P&Z board?
They agreed to it at the Planning and Zoning Board, yeah, and they're here today as well.
We're going to hear from them next.
Thank you.
If no other questions for staff at this time, we'll hear from the applicant. If you all have a presentation, you don't feel like you have to, but if you want to.
I don't have anything to pull up. I know they do have some exhibits that are the last 2 items in that packet if they wanted to pull them up, though.
Okay. Kelly, if you can pull up the exhibit. Is that E and F, I guess? If you want to come forward, come in.
Thank you. In the proposal, it shows the landscape package that's in for approval with the city.
Okay.
The conditions of 1 and 2 are met there in the submittals. And to the question number 3, that we limited to the low-speed vehicles, that's no problem. That's all we need.
Okay. Any questions of the applicants? Questions or comments for the applicant? Okay.
How do you guys feel about the request to leave it to the low-speed vehicles?
No problem.
No problem with that?
No. Absolutely. That's our only intent.
I appreciate that. That's great. And then
It's also a marine dealership too, so we have boats there as well, but
yeah,
small boats and then the low-speed vehicles, yes, sir.
okay. So it's going to be limited to low-speed vehicles and boats?
Yes, sir. New boats only.
So my only question or concern is there's an existing pole sign out front,
Yes, sir.
which is going to be sunset in the next 2 or 3 years. but it's still showing in your drawings and stuff that it's existing, you're aware that at some point in time, you're gonna have to take it down anyway?
When that point comes, there'll be no problem. That's what the law is, ordinance at that time, we'll adhere to that, no issues.
Yeah, so I had two comments. That was one of them, just making you aware that is coming. I mean, it's not legal that it has to be done at this point, but before
Honestly,
you
doesn't-
spend money and then come back and say, we just spent money, we're telling you now. So when it comes up, you're gonna have to take it down now, but, you can figure that out. And they can tell you what that time frame is, the planning department. We just bumped it out a little bit, because it just came up during COVID, which was like the worst possible time. But anyway, the city's desire is to see all those taken down, even the grandfather.
No issue.
The other one is, just to put on your radar, and again, staff can give you some details. We are looking at some intersection changes there that could impact your property in some ways, positively or negatively. Just to, give you a heads up on that. And again, Kyle and staff can give you an idea of what that looks like, so. And I'm told the internet is slow, that's why they can't pull that presentation up for us, but we've got it here, and I think we're all familiar with it.
Yeah, I was at the planning and zoning meeting, so there's a lot of discussion about what's a recreational vehicle.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it unless
No, actually,
you were there. So, I feel for them because they're, it went through quite a bit from here to there and everywhere else, so.
No, I listened to that P and Z meeting, and I felt like they did a pretty thorough job of vetting this, and I feel like you all did a pretty thorough job of answering the questions and concerns, so I have no other questions for the applicant. All right, seeing no others, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll now hear any closing remarks from the city. I don't see that we need any closing remarks from the city. Jeff, you went way back there, I couldn't find him. All right, with that, do I have a motion to approve special exception SC 3-21?
Do we hear from the public, or did I miss that?
We should, actually, probably, yeah. So any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Yeah, go ahead. You're right, I'm sorry, it is here, and I missed it.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Andy Palamarts. I was the former owner of Volusia Motorsports, and I had the opportunity to sell these vehicles, low-speed vehicles, until I sold my business in 2020. So I would hope that the Commission could provide the new tenant, Ultimate Marine, the same opportunity to serve the local community.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other members of the public wish to comment on this item? All right.
Move to approve with the 3 recommendations in the planning and zoning.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to approve with those three criteria. And we had a second from Commissioner Clody. If no other discussion, Kelly, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thanks for your patience tonight. I know it's been a long meeting. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the community while you were here. Some things we're passionate about.
A little too much.
Yeah. Don't cut down any trees.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. Look forward to that ribbon cutting. All right. We have no ordinances, first readings, or boards and commissions, so that'll lead us to mayor and commission reports. We'll begin with the vice mayor, as always.
I have no reports.
Okay. Commissioner Hartman.
I have a couple, but the first would be, maybe we could get the Canal Merchants Association to adopt Flagler during spring break next year. They seem to have it a little easier than the Flagler did. The other, since it is we did take the Fair Housing Month for April. If we could have consensus on the board that we could move forward with donating some property to Habitat for Humanity. I know we had that discussions. I know we've looked into what our legal requirements are going to be. I was wondering if we could push that agenda forward a little bit, if I have consensus. If we could identify 1 or 2 properties, that they may be of benefit to them, that we could turn into affordable housing. I know the county's also working on their housing projects, so they should have something out within the next couple of months with affordable housing. So rather than donate everything, I'd like to kind of hang on to some of it to that point in time. So, but if we could push forward with maybe giving something to looking at 1 or 2 pieces of property for Habitat.
Are we waiting on them, or are they waiting on us?
No, they're waiting on us. We
okay.
are in the process of RFP because we have some lots in the CRA district and some lots are not. So there is an RFP that will be prepared to go out, and then the city commission could decide what they want to do with that.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Well, we did a pretty good job today. We listened to everybody. We also completed a few things, our redistricting, a couple other big things. So let's finish the evening off by moving along to get rid of a couple other issues that have been hanging on. We heard from the public regarding historic districts. There's various ideas as to how we should improve them. And I know our attorney has come up with some ideas. I know the public has. They have a position on it. What I would like to see us authorize our manager to have our staff come up with a proposal to implement the enforcement and the use of these districts. And then we can discuss the merits at that time. We've just been going back and forth, and we haven't really gone anywhere. Let's bring it to a conclusion. I think everybody in those districts, whether they signed the letters or not, would love to see a final conclusion as to where we're going. That's what I would like to see. If that needs a motion, I'll make one. If not, if we can just grant our manager permission to draw the documents. I thought we did it in the past, but we probably didn't do it completely.
Any objections? I agree. There's a lot of chatter around that, and we need to just put that in the rearview mirror as fast as possible, in my opinion. So I agree with you. Any objections, having staff work on that and bring something back to us? All right, hearing none, it sounds like we've got, yes.
The request was for two issues. One was for the Heights, and one was for combining properties specifically within the historic district on Canal Street. So just want to make sure that the commission gives us these directions.
Well, I wasn't speaking to those particular requests, just for the ordinances our attorney has spoke of, and that the...
Are we talking, so the consultant draft, is that the one where it's like the comprehensive look at it and how to strengthen it?
Well, we kind of did that already.
No, it hasn't been adopted yet.
No, it hasn't been adopted.
Right, but that's the one you're talking about.
That's what I would like to do, yes. As to those two particular things, they're almost zoning issues. They're very important, but let's get the base done first.
I think there's multiple facets. I can
Yes.
tell off of that one, but I'd just like to see an agenda where we just kind of knock all of these out. Get all on the same page, because we as a commission haven't talked about it in quite a while. So I don't know where everyone else is at. I don't know what items, so.
I thought where staff was going was amending Chapter 50. And, we just seem to hit roadblocks on that issue, whether we getting the participation, not getting participation, et cetera, et cetera. And from what I understand is we're looking at other options, maybe to do some ordinance changes that would strengthen and benefit, the National Historic District as a whole. So, because I've gotten a couple emails and I think I've forwarded them to Carrie. So, maybe look at that and see if there's another way at that to get a bite of that apple.
Yeah, it's often pointed out that Winter Park has similar situations, and they handle it in their zoning ordinances. So we just got to get a decisive recommendation as to how to proceed, and that's what I want to do.
So I'm more in line with, this has already been a little bit of a challenge for even us all up here to be able to articulate what exactly is we want to do. I would like to approach it holistically. Let's approach this thing. I don't necessarily want to piecemeal it. I think I'm more, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of tackling this thing all together. But it's going to be a challenge for everybody to understand. You're talking about the district. We're carrying and
So we have like 5 things on the table. One is the local designation.
Right.
The
and then
whole code rewrite.
Right.
then the lot consolidation, the height.
Right. So I think that we take a look at that, just put it all on there. Because unless one cannot be done without the other, but I think that's kind of like what we need to discuss too, right? To get a clear understanding of what can be done and what can't be done. So I think I think it's going to be a big deal in the context that it's going to be a lot to wrap our heads around. This isn't going to be something that's going to show up the next meeting and be like, oh, this is going to be very comprehensive. So, but I'm interested in just kind of getting it out here and tackling those issues and seeing where we come up.
That's where my head was at.
Okay.
And tonight you're welcome to put words in my mouth because I can't use them. I'm running out of words.
That's my first issue.
All right.
The second thing is we passed a 60-day curfew. We can't just let it expire without looking into it further to see how we want to handle these type of events. So I'm looking forward to some proposals from our staff on that. And the last thing is Spyglass Pier, which I bring up. It will no longer be in my district, or it might not even be right now. But I have met out there with our capital project manager and our assistant city manager. We've reviewed the estimates, and it comes to about $50,000 is a educated guess as to what would make the pier safe for at least 10 more years. It would take the dangerous part off the end and basically provide a walkway out to the water. Now, we have roughly 14,000 or 18,000 available. I'm not asking for any more money. I'm asking for if the some of the area residents have said that they would pay money to fix the pier. I'm asking, I don't want to overstep my bounds by asking them to look into whether they're still interested in putting some cash up to make what's left of the pier usable. I received a very good email today, which I don't remember whether I forwarded it to the manager or not, but I'm going to ask him to forward it along so you can look at that. The person is the closest resident to the pier. He's also one of our planning board members, so he's very knowledgeable in this type of thing. So I'm asking for the right to speak with the residents to see if they still want to kick in some cash. No dollars to be mentioned, no guarantees, nothing else.
I don't see a problem with you talking to people, whether or not they want to kick in money. I don't think you need, I certainly don't feel you need my permission to do that.
I just don't want to give the impression that the commission has agreed to repair the pier to some extent based on your contribution and our cash.
Well, I'm not, up front, I'm not a huge fan of using public dollars to replace this pier. So I certainly encourage, if you want to get some private funding, which is how that thing was put in the first place, I am more than happy to afford you to go run all day long doing that and see if you can muster up the finances to
It'll
do
be
that.
my last run in that area. That's it. I appreciate the action on the historic districts, and I'm glad to see that move forward as well as the AOB. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several things of great concern to me. You know how much I value trees, and I hated to see our community divided and angry over the loss of some stately oak trees. I wonder, with that in mind, can the city preempt, kind of tough, preempt the state, or co-opt the state? Because frankly, I'm livid over what the state did to us and our wonderful ordinance regarding historic oak trees. So it may be a large ask, but you know, there are good arborists, tree trimmers, who will not hack your trees apart. I had one come to my property. I have 10 oaks. They're scrub oaks. I live on a barrier island. They're beautiful specimens. They didn't recommend cutting any of them. They were honest, decent arborists. So you could say, yes, there might be a conflict, but there also are not conflicts. But I would like us to see if we could have a consultant, if not a permanent staff member, a naturalist, an arborist, that would vet applications that are held by the applicant or the trimmer, who has to keep on file the arborist report. If they don't bring it to the city for our files, as I understand it, either the applicant or the arborist has to keep that report. I would like us to vet and also view those reports, just to be sure that things are done on the up and up, because we are losing these valuable assets day after day for all kinds of reasons, some of them good, some of them not. But for me, a live oak tree is a place for a community to meet, to come together, to try to work out problems. It's an age-old place to meet. And I was forlorn and dismayed that it had come to this over some stately oaks. But nonetheless, that's part of the environment that I'm so concerned about for our New Smyrna Beach. We so value ecotourism. And I have a report here. I don't know if anybody else received it. My wife and I had the pleasure of attending the Marine Discovery Center's 25th anniversary. What wonderful people belong there. I was such an honor to talk to folks who, true naturalists and people who value life that has no tongue, life that cannot speak for itself, that gives us life. And they just do wonderful things there. I've worked with them. I volunteered there. I've learned so much from them about the Indian River and the Mosquito Lagoon. It's really a palace for us that a lot of people don't realize we have. And if we harm the land around us, if we take all the trees and we poison the land with fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides, we'll kill that river. I got a report card here. I'd hate to give this report card to my parents, God bless their soul. But this report card is full of F's and C's and D's, okay? And up where we live, there's maybe one C, and I've never heard of an F minus minus. But this is according to the Marine Resource Council. The Indian River is dying, my friends. And we need to do more as a city to try and help this revive. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but it tears me up to see it in this condition, because it is a temple for all to enjoy. It was a pleasure, and I hope the plan works out for the AOB site. It'll be a place where people can come and appreciate in all types of vessels. But at the same time, we have to consider what we do on the land and in the water and what we do to the water. I just wanted to add this. Turnbull Creek got a D+. So glad we bought the lands around Turnbull Creek. Maybe we can make that an A someday, or a B. A grade of B is meeting the regulatory target, actually. So if anybody has the patience to listen to me, that's the story of our Indian River Lagoon and Mosquito Lagoon. It is failing, and I don't like to sugarcoat things. I like to tell the truth. I have to tell the truth, because if we don't, this will die. And I just wanted you guys to know that. And I appreciate the work that the Marine Discovery Center does. And that's all I have, gentlemen. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well said. I think this is tough sometimes, and I've said it before. I said it a little bit, I think, at that Marine Discovery Center event.
Yes, thank you for attending.
It's, there's the health of, we're only one little slice of the pie with the lagoon. And I don't know and I could stand corrected, but there haven't been any measures that I recall in our time, this particular five of us, since we've been serving, that have been solutions, viable, achievable, economically feasible solutions that have been put on the table to try to improve the health or quality of the lagoon that we have rejected or stood against. The reality is that there's not many achievable, economically feasible, viable solutions to promote lagoon health, to rapidly accelerate the change from an F- to a B. I wish there were. I wish there were a knob I could turn tomorrow. My understanding is we focus a lot on septic to sewer, which, I'm not opposed to that. My understanding is a good part of the lagoon health issues is related to fertilizer runoff. So as long as we continue to create turf yards, which everyone seems to enjoy, we're going to continue to have some of these problems. I want, in conjunction with your passion, which I completely appreciate, I want to make sure we are clear that on this commission, it's not like we're not an inhibiting factor. We're doing everything we can to promote the health of the lagoon. There are things that are beyond our control, not that we may not can influence them. So back to your point on the trees, I've reached out to state legislators. It doesn't do us any good to sit here and talk about what we wish state legislators to do if we're not lobbying those state legislators. That's why I was so thrilled to see all these folks tonight that understood that the five of us weren't necessarily the problem when it came to the topic that they brought forward tonight. And so my hope is that all of us and all of them and all of our community can lobby those other elected officials, because it's broader than just the five of us that control major topics like the health of the lagoon, the health of our tree canopy, and so many other factors. So I just have two really quick things, because others have covered some of them. Historic districts is one. This one's going to seem extremely minor, but I just have an ask of staff. Every meeting, this air conditioning goes off at somewhere around 7 o'clock and slowly just gets warmer and warmer. So if somebody can figure out the programming on that thermostat, because I realize that by the end of the meeting, I'm like, man, I am so hot. And then I look over and I see it at 77, 78 degrees. So if somebody can play with the programming on that, I'd appreciate it. And then special events, thank you all for supporting the curfew. I believe that worked. I believe law enforcement would tell you that it worked. It's not ideal, but I believe it worked. And I'm happy to report that Kyle and I attended this morning a meeting that was kicked off by some of the members in the business community. And I think that we're going to see some solutions put on the table. And I'm very hopeful those solutions and suggestions can come from the community and not necessarily have to come from us, because that's where we'll get bigger buy-in, is if the hotels and the hoteliers and business owners and other members of the community have brought us solutions that they've already bought into. Boy, we can get behind that pretty easily. Now, there's some things that I think we need to put on the table as well. So I'm going to plant some seeds over the next few weeks. Right now, today, we're at T-minus 356 days until next spring break. And that's something that I don't think we can lose sight of. Every county, there's 6 counties at least that I checked around us that are all having spring break at exactly the same time again next year, just like they did this year. That calendar is already set. It is happening. So the meeting today was productive. I look for many more. And again, there will come a time when that then becomes a public meeting, engaging the public, engaging the commission. But for now, I'm very hopeful and excited about the notion that the business community is going to help kind of drive this conversation, because there was acknowledgement around that table of, listen, that this isn't all good for our community. In fact, a giant swath of this was, some negatives for our community, and certainly headlines like what are coming out of Miami Beach, shootings and the like. That's the kind of stuff no one wants in New Smyrna Beach. That doesn't help anybody sell a hotel room, a trinket, a dress, or any other item that we have for sale in this city. So more to come on that. It will probably take a month or two, I would say, of talking. Again, there's some things I'll probably bring back to the commission. Electric scooters being one of them. I saw a lot of poor behavior on electric scooters this week. I was at one time a supporter of them, but what I saw this week was nobody is parking their car and using those to get to the beach. They are toys for unresponsible adults or children to ride up and down and cut through traffic and get on our sidewalks and run over our guests and our visitors and our residents. So So this is one item. We've got probably some others. So thank you for bringing that back up. This curfew probably will just expire, but that doesn't mean that the conversation is going to expire. And 356 days from now, come hook or crook, we're going to be ready. So,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I'm sorry to interject. You know, I visited Flagler on St. Patty's Day and noticed as I was riding my bike down with my lights on legally, it's kind of dangerous at night, but I noticed a confluence of people like they were all going to a concert. And I realized what may have happened. The Flagler Avenue Business Association, in conjunction with the Ad Authority, put on an event. I have their literature about the event. If we could have better communications for the next time with them, they could give us good notice that these type of events are going to happen, that it wouldn't have such a negative impact on the community. I think it was well attended with mostly good people. Very crowded, of course. We don't have the size for a Miami Beach venue. But if we could have better communication with those associations, I think we'd be in better shape. And the residents, I think, which were affected, wouldn't be so angry.
So FABA, the Ad Authority, all of those folks are definitely going to be a part of the conversation. They were part of the conversation today, and they will be a part of the conversation. But there's no event, no one in the city, no Ad Authority, no business did any type of promotion that I have put my hands on or seen targeted at the spring break crowd. The event I believe you're talking about is our standard typical beer garden at Flagler Tavern. That's targeted at, the folks in this room. I mean, that's targeted at all of us residents. They're not advertising that in Orlando. They're not advertising that to spring breakers that are 13 to 18, 17 years old. So there was we didn't invite them here. We just became the destination of choice. And I said it earlier. I've said it many times this week, but the last I'll say on spring break for now is just remember, not all juveniles are delinquents, and not all delinquents are juveniles. We have problems in our adult population as well, and we have a lot of really good kids. I can show you pictures of kids that went behind their peers and cleaned up the beach and cleaned up trash off the beach, totally unprompted, totally not a part of any organized thing. There's literally a mosh pit party going on over here, and you'd see a kid walking over there towards a overflowing trash can and putting trash near the trash can. So a lot of things for us to work on, a lot of opportunities. But look for more to come on that from all of us. All right, city manager report.
Mayor, for the sake of time, I think it's self-explanatory. The only thing is I just want to make one correction in the CM reports. I have mentioned that Commissioner Colodi and staff met with the HOA representative from Venetian Bay. I got a call from Joe, and he wasn't really the representative of HO. I guess they call themselves representative, the coalition in Venetian Bay. Is that what they call themselves, Randy?
I think it's like a citizens action group.
Or citizen action group. So they're not representative of the HOA. I just want to make that correction from the CM report. If there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions of Colin on his report? Seeing none, city clerk report.
No further report.
City attorney.
No report tonight.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.